sent to serve those who shall inherit salvation or deliverance? If angels will be sent, which are the hosts of heaven, you have to have a good relationship with our Lord Jesus Christ. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you shall ask of me anything, and it shall be done for you. Kenya, is now time that we abide in Christ. It's now time we begin to meditate on the word of God. As he told Joshua, meditate on this word, the book of the law, day and night, and you shall have good success. The success of Kenya is in the hand of God. Let's pray. Father, we thank you because you have spoken to us today. We thank you for each and every viewer today. And I pray even in this hour, everyone will come to that point of abiding in you and abiding in your words. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television, and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m., on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa, and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
To announce Ashok as my successor. Otherwise, she knows how Ashok can be given his rights.
Did Queen Dharma say so?
Made a mistake, Acharya.
You definitely have. And there is no doubt about it. I want to hear the truth, Ashok.
I don't have much time left. Please help me. By tomorrow morning, he will leave us forever.
Hadn't I told you that you shouldn't even come close to my son Dharma? Go away.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Utamtafuta.
Z.
Utamtafuta.
Ongoi sijui.
What are you going on about?
You have your place in his life. You always will.
You're his family.
More like a trailer, easily detached when not needed.
Decide what you want, Wanjala. Go for it.
What did you do?
I followed him home.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Kiachana mimi.
Laki achane. Huyu ni mtu wa legend.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Seems you need to take better care of your wife, because she takes advantage of every opportunity to get close to Ramon.
Sophia.
I am not prepared to lose you, Ramon.
I don't want to have anything to do with you. This is over, Sophia. I've had enough. It's over. I'm done playing the fool over
Francisco, calm down. You're really starting to scare me.
Andrea and I love each other.
What's that?
Yes, we have been in love all our lives.
I'm not letting you leave.
Let go of me! I never want to see you again.
In love with Ramon.
What are domain names?
A domain name is simply a resource on the internet that is identified with a unique number. So kbc.co.ke is a domain name.
What are the safeguards? That once you have my information, it will be retained, verified, it will be used in a manner that I understand.
.co stands for a company.
and .ke stands for the location of that company.
But in having all those data sets come together, that kind of data set becomes very important and very vulnerable from a data security standpoint.
Good morning. This is KBC Channel 1. You're watching Good Morning Kenya. The best way to start your morning, or rather kickstart your morning, depending on which side of the bed you woke up. But we're glad that you are with us this morning. I'm Regina Manyera. We're going to be looking at stories that are making headlines locally as well as internationally. Locally, yesterday, all eyes were in Bombers, and we had so many speeches there. There's a moment of heckling there that got everybody, heckled and such. But hey, at the end of the day, President Uhuru Kenyatta urged Wanjiko, that is you and I, to read the report, and also told us to pass it so that we do away with, feelings of loss after every election. Well, which direction we'll take, we'll wait to see. It's a matter of waiting and seeing. We also had Deputy President William Ruto, who we were all asking, will he show up? Well, he did show up. We'll be capturing that and so much more, including matters of, COVID, now with an infection rate of 12.8%. Now, we have stories that show that COVID patients have already jumped hospitals, and it's an appeal from the Ministry of Health that you continue adhering to the health protocols. Further on is that towards the end of yesterday, there was an announcement by the Matatu Association saying that they might actually be striking today. We'll be keeping tabs on that and so much more. Remember, we're live, and our website is www.kbc.co.ke. But I'm not doing this alone. I have my colleagues on set. Good morning, guys. Yeah, I was in the debate club. Who's here? Who's there? Yeah.
What's that?
What's your problem?
I'm just asking.
What's your issue?
What's that you were dropping when we were doing the intro?
Oh yeah.
I mean, and then she tells us it's the best way to start your day. Then she says it's the only way to start your day, morning. Depending on which side of the bed you woke up from.
Yes, it might be the best. It might be the best, depending on which side, or the only way to start your morning. I mean,
it looks like Sam has overthought that statement.
No, it's like what I have. What again?
You've really overthink.
No, it's just that I have a lot of attention to detail. Detail, blow by blow.
Blow by blow, take it away.
Wow, did you just adjust?
Oh yeah, I just adjusted my coat. If I had a crown, I would also adjust my crown. But yeah, take it away, take it away.
It's all right. How are you doing, ladies? Mko salama?
Kabisa.
Nice. Sambamba.
Nice. And in the course of the show, of course, we will be looking at what happened at Bombers yesterday, just to understand the speeches, the body language, even as we prepare to get now into the document and process the content, see the merits or the lack of it, what can be improved, what can be sustained, and what will be the way forward. There is also that critical question of whether or not it will go through Parliament, or Parliament will submit it to Wanjiko, courtesy of provisions in law. So those are the things that we shall be looking at. But you know what? The second wave is right here with us. This is a statement by the Ministry of Health.
Yeah.
Beds are getting scarce and more scarce by the day, yet our citizen responsibility role, we've thrown it through the window. What's happening? Yeah? We need to wear masks, social distancing, and do this, sanitize. My goodness. It's important, by the way. The cost of maintaining or flattening the curve, as we witnessed in the country, is way, way, way too high. And we can use that money for other purposes. And you know even what the concern is? The wave is quite literally across the world. So those countries who was talking about even giving aid to Kenya may not quite give it right now. And if they do, it may not be as sufficient. We're beginning to open trade. That could be affected once more. We are heading into December. The holidays are here. I mean, let's style up. I just felt like, see, I'm so much dog in the morning. It helps.
You're on a roll. Doreen? You know, even as we speak of COVID-19 and the hiking numbers, remember that yesterday you said there was actually crackdown happening for matatus and all these public vehicles, and even for anyone who's not adhering to these protocols. Today morning, I actually saw one. Matatu pulled on the side. It was a Probox, PSV kind of Probox, and it had carried excess. 4 people, 3 adults and a kid at the back, the driver, and the co-driver on the other side. So it was pulled on the side not because they weren't wearing masks, but because they were not adhering to those protocols. So what you're just saying and what Sam has just said, follow these guidelines. If you want to wear a mask in public, wear it. Sanitize in your businesses. Have this, have the sanitizers, have the watering points in public vehicles, even in these private ones. Don't board it if it's excess. You do not want to be caught in the whimp of it. So actually just follow these protocols and guidelines as they have been for a long time given by the Ministry of Health. But also away from that, this morning on our roads, we'll be focusing in Kisumu City. Remember that when we talk about traffic, we just don't look at what is happening here in Nairobi. We also extend it further to different parts of the country, different towns, different counties, just trying to see what kind of activities the different bodies designated to at least make sure our roads look better are doing, and also how traffic is impacted, and also at least coming back Nairobi in a bit, given the fact that vehicles are slated to go on strike this morning. So what kind of impact will that have on traffic? That is what we'll be focusing on this morning when it comes to matters traffic this Tuesday. Many thanks for making time. My name is Doreen Arange. And there we are.
Now we'll be taking a quick break, then we'll look at what is happening on our major roads with our Traffic Marshal A1, none other than Doreen Arange.
Now, we'll definitely be focusing on Kisumu in our other links, but I just want us to briefly look at Nairobi, given the fact that, yes, there's that expected strike this beginning at least today. Now, let's just briefly look at Kenyatta Avenue as you are heading over to the city center. And as of now, just a few minutes past 7, and the traffic around this roundabout is really unbearable in this early morning hour. It's not like how we'd expect this traffic to be looking like just at, probably 7 minutes past 7 a.m. And look at how the entire roundabout is looking like. Actually, past this roundabout is where we had the fast and motorized transport system being put in place, just coming all the way to Kenyatta Avenue as you head over to the city center. Now, this traffic begins all the way from University Way roundabout through Uhuru Highway before you get to the Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, and also coming all the way from areas of Valley Road, still using Kenyatta Avenue as you are coming to the city center. As you are leaving the roundabout, though, heading all the way to Valley Road and all those areas enjoined, there's no traffic at all, actually moving at a really, really fast pace, and that has been well indicated by the green color there. So just where there's traffic really building up as of now is through the roundabout. So what this means is that if you're coming from areas along Wayaki Way, using Uhuru Highway through Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, either heading to V Road or through Uhuru Highway, still going all the way to Haile Selassie, to Nyayo Stadium roundabout, to Langata, or even to Mombasa Road, or even just going to the city center, then this is really the best time for you to do that, because past the roundabout, coming all the way to the CBD, yes, there's traffic, but a manageable kind of traffic. And look at that. That orange color is when you see that orange color anytime, it just means traffic is beginning to slightly build up, but at least is manageable. And leaving the city center, that is the CBD, coming through again the roundabout of Kenyatta Avenue, going to the other side of Kenyatta Avenue, as well as just leaving the roundabout, coming through Uhuru Highway. Look at that. It has actually, this has just changed right now. It was green, meaning there was no traffic at all, but now traffic is is beginning to slightly build up. And this is again coming from city center or coming from the CBD using the roundabout. But what I think is a bit interesting this morning is that nothing is really changing around this roundabout. It's just as how it was a couple of minutes ago when we were beginning to look at how it was doing in terms of traffic. What that means is that, you know, the traffic just around the roundabout is the same. The traffic beginning to build up throughout that roundabout, and that's why I was saying, if at all you'll be using this specific route going about any of your activities, then this is clearly the best time for you to do that, because then again, also, as you're leaving Valley Road, still through Kenyatta Avenue, coming through the roundabout, it has changed again. And when I'm just saying it has changed, is that actually it is changing to the heavy kind of traffic. So it looks like things are not changing for the better. And as of now, it's not moving at all. It's just at a standstill, and that is what that maroon color means, or just seeing that on your screen, that is what it indicates. But at least the beauty of that is that this is actually only on that lane that is leaving Valley Road, leaving Agux Codec, coming all the way through Kenyatta Avenue. As you are leaving the roundabout, going through still the same avenue, going to those areas that I just mentioned, no traffic at all, green, all through again, also just leaving the roundabout, coming to the other side of Uhuru Highway, still unbearable kind of traffic, this morning hour when it comes to Nairobi City, especially in these specific areas where we're trying to look at how traffic is doing. Again, still on the other side, still yes, there's traffic, but at least on the other side is a manageable kind of traffic. When I'm saying on the other side is actually when you're leaving CBD through Kenyatta Avenue, heading all the way to Uhuru Highway, as you come to Haile Selassie Avenue, going all the way to Nyayo Stadium and all the way to Mombasa Road. So at least on that specific lane, it's manageable kind of traffic, and on and on some parts, it's just no traffic at all, moving really fast. So where there's really heavy gridlock is as you leave the areas I just mentioned along this highway, coming through the roundabout. In fact, on that specific one, it's just not moving at all at a standstill. That's how it is looking like this morning. Just trying to see how traffic is doing in the city of Nairobi around Kenyatta Avenue roundabout. So again, that's how it's looking like. So yes, heavy kind of traffic on some parts, and at least in some others quite manageable. But remember, I mentioned earlier, this morning we'll be focusing on matters traffic in Kisumu City, trying to see the projects being done by Kenyan Urban Roads Authorities and how that has impacted traffic, especially in the heart of that city. But as of now, this is how Nairobi City is looking like in terms of traffic.
Good morning. Now we focus on those stories in the headlines, and I have the copy of the Standard this morning, the October 27th of 2020. That's how the front page looks like. A moment of truth, is it? Food for thought. Now that's the main read on the Standard this morning, titled "The Moment of Truth," and it was all about what was happening at the Bomas Convention Center yesterday. Quoted there is President Uhuru Kenyatta. "The fact of the matter is that we are a tribal society and we want to run from that. Let us not cheat one another. I will also admit that I have been part and parcel of the negative politics. We must address the issue of inclusivity so that every single community will feel that they are part and parcel of this country." That is President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, his deputy, that is William Ruto, said, "My friend Raila, I hope you are not referring to me as a bourgeoisie. We do not have the luxury to say, I don't care. We do not have the luxury to walk away. The punishment given to good people who do not participate in the politics and governance of the country is to be ruled by fools." That is Deputy President there, William Ruto. Raila, in response, is that we do not want a proletariat revolution. A proletariat revolution has never been led by a bourgeoisie. We want this to be a unifying document and the referendum process to be a unifying factor and, if possible, a non-contested process. That is ODM leader Raila Odinga all of them, 3 quoted on the front page of the Standard this morning. That's the main read as far as the Standard is concerned.
What was that word again? Bourgeois.
Yeah, bougie, bourgeoisie.
Nimezoea bougie.
Yeah, it's bourgeoisie.
Okay, so sour. Now, moving on to The Nation and what this particular daily has decided to go with as a headline. Was it really a clash? Because now the Daily Nation talks about Uhuru Ruto clash. But did they? They talk about drama. This daily talks about drama as President Kenyatta tells off his deputy for abandoning Jubilee Dream and reveals the DP was aware of the handshake with ODM leader, that is Raila Odinga. Deputy President tears into the BBI proposals, and this story is covered, of course, in detail in this particular story. This is the front page of the Daily Nation today. I don't know whether you would describe it really as a clash, and I don't know whether you would really say that the campaign to amend the constitution is off to a stormy start as Kenyans are advised to make free choices. Also highlighted on the front page of this daily is the fact that the COVID second wave is already here. No COVID beds in hospitals. Already a couple of weeks ago, CS Mutahi Kagwe had alluded to the fact that ICU beds are getting, elusive. I mean, zimeja across facilities. And today, the concern is that COVID beds are actually getting scarce and scarce by the day. So what is the way forward? That story covered on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Salaries shocker for civil servants as sitting allowance is now to go. And there will be no more secrecy of salaries. That story is on page 9. And of course, in as far as the corruption case of Ferdinand Waitito is concerned, the prosecution now wants to move and ascertain whether really he is suffering from COVID-19. And the question being posed on the front page of the Daily Nation today, is he really down with COVID? Prosecutor now seeks to have a test conducted on Ferdinand Waitito. That is the front page of the Daily Nation for you this Tuesday.
Well, it looks like Matters BBI is still on the front page of the dailies this morning, and on the Star, still a similar story with the main caption just saying, Ruto has turned his back on me. That's, as the Star quotes it, that being a statement from the president, continuing to say that amid heckling, DP lays out reasons why he may oppose BBI document launched in Bomas. And this story has been well fleshed out from page 4 through 5 of the Star. Still on the same front page, there's an interesting story, if I can say, and this regards to tutors, college tutors just being hired, saying that uproar over skewed hiring of technical college tutors. It has well highlighted which colleges are this and the skewed ways in which the technical college tutors were hired. Some just saying that, the way in which they were hired was very undeserving. They didn't deserve these jobs, yet they got the jobs. But again, we'll be unpacking more of that specific story as we begin to unpack more of what is inside the paper to better understand which ways was this that actually they were undeserving to get the jobs, yet they still got the jobs. At the bottom end of the paper, matters to do with the graft. DPP Haji picks holes in the ex-Kiambu Governor Waitito medical reports. Again, we'll be getting to see what is happening there when it comes to the ex-Kiambu Governor and why DPP Haji is picking holes there. And still on matters to do at least slightly bit with elections, where Kwale residents reject calls to delay Msambweni polls, and this was just a call from Haki Africa saying that at least they need to delay the polls a bit, but now the Kwale residents are rejecting that delay. Remember that this is after the MP passed away, that is Suleiman Dori. So that is how the front page of the Star is looking like.
Now, just to set the pace, because all the dailies have captured what was happening at the Bomas of Kenya, how about we just have a recap? Because KBC Channel 1 was live, our crew was live, and captured the following report as prepared by our various reporters. Let's have a listen to what happened in Bomas yesterday.
Deputy President William Ruto is urging for a national conversation regarding the Building Bridges Initiative report. Ruto took issues with the creation of an ombudsman to police the judiciary, saying according to him this will erode the independence of the judiciary.
The recommendation that has been made
to have an ombudsman appointed by the executive into the judiciary, in my respectful submission, is a derogation from the independence of the judiciary.
He also wondered how IBC, with commissioners appointed by a few political parties, will be a fair arbiter in an election contest.
How fair will be a league where the referee is appointed by teams? And not all the teams, some teams.
On the creation of a police council chaired by the cabinet secretary, the deputy president questioned how such a body will argue with the independence of the police.
The 2010 constitution was very clear that the police must act independently of any politicians, whether they are in government or in the opposition. To recommend that we will have a police council chaired by a CS is actually a derogation from the independence of the police.
On the Senate, the deputy president was of the opinion that it should be made an upper house to help oversight the funds to be channeled to counties, wondering why the report seems to downgrade it. Yet many women will be elected to their house, yet they will not be substantive decision makers.
That when women go to the Senate, they are going to a Senate which has been downgraded, which has no responsibility on matters of resource allocation. Are you enhancing the participation of women, or are you downgrading the participation of women?
On inclusive, the deputy president said the document is not explicit on how it will be attained if the idea of the winner takes it all is to be addressed.
The president, from his side, like for example here, President Uhuru Kenyatta, I am here, Kimunya is the Prime Minister, because he's the leader of majority. We have Jimmy Angwenyi, who is our deputy, as a deputy Prime Minister, and maybe Maoka Maore as one of the deputies. So what happens to the whole NASA brigade, together with Musalia and all these other people?
Ruto said the document must entail discussions about ordinary people and concrete proposals on how the millions of the jobless youth will be assisted. While Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi lauded the document, but said aspects like the national debt must be addressed if the target of channeling 35% of national resources to counties will be attained.
Because the good provisions of increasing 15% to 35% will require resources. If the debt consumes too much of our resources, we shall again fail to serve the counties. That is critical.
Mudavadi also proposed that the Chief Justice be given the mandate to appoint the chair of the Judiciary Ombudsman, unlike what the report is proposing.
The judiciary is independent. There's a very good provision recommending the appointment of the ombudsman to handle the issues of the judiciary. I think that is good. However, I strongly believe that in order to enhance the independence of the judiciary, that appointment should be made by the Chief Justice.
Timothy Kipnusu for Channel 1 News.
Now, that is a report by Timothy Kipnusu highlighting what Deputy President there, William Ruto, spoke about, as well as Musalia Mudavadi. Now, in response, President Uhuru Kenyatta went further to just ask Kenyans to read the BBI and also push it through so that we do not experience what we have seen over the years in terms of historical civil injustices that we've seen 1992 with the clashes in Molo, as well as the post-election violence of 2007. How about to just have a recap of that in regard to what the president has to say in Bomas yesterday?
President Uhuru Kenyatta has drummed up support for the Building Bridges Initiative report, urging Kenyans to support it as it will end perennial divisions that have marred elections in the country.
A document whose objective is really nothing more than to find what ails our country and hopefully give us a solution that will heal our country.
President Kenyatta saying successive elections in the country have been marred with cycles of tension, scaring away potential investors, and it was time a solution is found.
But when we sat down to speak, something that was very difficult for him, but also for me and my team, very difficult. But when we got through to it, and we spoke again, and we spoke again, we agreed that we're not here to share positions, and we should put our various positions aside.
The president said there is need to manage the youth carefully, terming the millions of unemployed a ticking time bomb which can easily explode.
The second big problem we have is our young people. Again, let us not cheat ourselves. It is our young people. We have a youth bulge that, if not properly handled, can be a time bomb that can blow this country to pieces. And the handling of that has to be done extremely carefully. Extremely carefully. That is not a problem of this community or that. It affects us all.
He hailed the opposition leader Raila Odinga for being selfless and agreeing to find a political solution after the 2017 polls, which brought about the handshake. On his part, former Prime Minister called on Kenyans to read and support the document, saying it will strengthen devolution and bring equity in the society.
We want to have an equal society where people work together and people love each other. And that's why we are proposing a new ethos of Utu.
He also welcomed Kenyans to add their own recommendations not factored in the document to make Kenya great.
We don't want wengine wanakwenda sisi tunasema la si nini. No, let's bring it here. The disabled have spoken and they've been heard. Wakina mama wameongea na wamesikizwa. Vijana kila mtu ameongea na tutasikizwa. See, do we want this to be a unifying process, uniting the people of Kenya?
After a journey of close to 2.5 years, which started out at the steps of Harambee House in the year 2018, the final BBI report is finally here. The two leaders' clarion call is, grab a copy, read it to understand the contents. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm banter.
Grab a copy, read and understand. That is banter. They're just giving a recap of what is happening yesterday at the Bomas. Now we shift focus from matters of, the BBI, and we delve into matters covered with a story that has been highlighted on page 12 of the Standard this morning, is that there's a surge in COVID-19 cases that is putting strain on hospitals. Now, yesterday, in a statement sent to newsrooms, indicated that the disease has so far claimed 18 more lives in the last 24 hours, with 276 found positive, with a positivity rate coming down from 13.4 to 12.8 as of yesterday. Now, it also indicates that there are currently 20 patients in the intensive care, 52 on a supplementary oxygen, while 20 are in high dependency unit. That is according to a statement by the Health CS Mutahi Kagwe.
And talking about COVID and the second wave, I'll just draw your attention to a concern that was raised, Regina, yesterday at the Bomas of Kenya. Talk about social distancing and how that was planned out. There are those that feel not quite. And the fact that we're heading now into almost a heavy political moment because of this particular document, that is the BBI. Are we going to see the kind of rallies we've been witnessing lately in as far as gatherings are concerned? Because now the second wave is here, cases are going up, our curve has begun to rise, and of even greater concern is the fact that, you know, ordinarily Nairobi, Mombasa, and the cities, Regina, used to be the ones that are largely affected. But due to the movement that has been there since the easing down of the restrictions, we've seen now the virus move to counties that are a bit interior. It's going beyond the metropolis of Nairobi and now hitting counties like Marsabit, Turkana. So we'll still echo that. We cannot overemphasize the need for citizen responsibility when it comes to combating COVID-19 in the country. More county funds, reformed IBC, and reparation of past injustices. I will give that story a breather because we will be getting into it in the course of my interview this day. But I'd like to draw your attention to a story here about alarm as COVID-19 infections choke the healthcare sector. There are statistics that have been given to support this conclusion. And weekly new cases by week 20, since we reported our first case, that was in March. By week 20, week 21 was our peak, where we had, we recorded 4,498. Then that has been going down to 4,343, 2,687. Then at one point we were at 876. Right now, at week 32, the curve has shot from 1,465 to 4,069. These are the weekly cases, and the deaths tick up. By week 32, which is, I guess, this week now, it has shot from 1,465 to 4,069. What is happening, guys? I mean, citizen responsibility is still key, right? It's really, really still key. And those that have died so far are 920. And the testing rate is 14 tests per 1,000 people. So that can also tell you the scope of testing is not as wide and as vast, and yet we are reporting the number of cases that we are. What if we were to increase the testing capacity? Probably the numbers would go up. So it's important that we keep the containment measures in a bit to at least, you know, have people out there do their trade. Ndio watu wasifungiwe ama aje, Regina?
Ndio watu wasifungiwe, lakini the way things are going. I was in the market over the weekend and I was so surprised because I think 1 out of every 5 people I met, it was either I and someone else who had a mask. The rest of the 3 had no mask, were walking close to each other. We had no sanitization points, you know, and all that. We are all still talking that, you know, we need the government, we need to go back to how things were. And I remember a conversation that came out last week is that also leaders are to blame. And when I say leaders, I am talking about the political class over this, you know, public rallies that we've been having and they've been holding where there's no social distancing. Rarely do you see a person having a mask. They're not sanitizing. And even yesterday, someone actually on social media, people who watched what was happening at Bomas, there were questions that were raised about, you know, who was sanitizing that mic? Did you see it get sanitized? Given the number of speakers who used that particular platform?
It's interesting the kind of things people pick out.
Yes.
And from a communication point of view, that's normal because people will listen to you for at least, you know, around 5-7 minutes, then they lose concentration and they start focusing on what is around you. So that is what happens in as far as communication is concerned. But you know what else is happening, Regina? On page 20 of the Daily Nation, the county's coverage, there is a rather disturbing report where now we're talking about inside one of Kenya's most dangerous towns. This right here is the story I'm making reference to. And they talk about, in Murang'a, Maragua to be precise, has constantly hit the headlines for bizarre murders and lethal guns. And our children are being recruited to ferry narcotics using school bags.
Well, you're talking about that. Also, I'd want to draw your attention to a story that has been captured on the Standard this morning, and it's all about paper trail, or rather evidence. Now, this is a court. Remember a case that where, the murder of a certain lady, this goes by the name of Lucy Njambi 2 years ago. Now, this particular court was shown photos and call logs of ex-Riruta MCA. Now, according to Joseph Muite, a DCI detective, he presented to court the photographs of the former MCA, that is Samuel Ndongo, who is the main suspect in this particular case, with his co-accused Joyce Njambi and Wilson Mwangi at Homeland Inn along Thika Road in January 2018, where they allegedly plotted Njambi's murder. Now, according to a data expert, that is Jonathan Limo, he testified that he extracted the phone data records between January 1st and January 26th of 2018, and the communication between the accused persons clearly shows that there was movement between Dagoretti Corner, Tome, and Rusambu hours preceding the murder. That is what is happening. Paper trail. Now, this is the 21st century, so matters of tech are taking center stage in all sectors. And now we are seeing in regard to this particular murder case of one Lucy Njambi 2 years ago. Now, still keeping up with stories from the courts is that now, remember that prominent lawyer Willie Kimani's murder?
The lawyer.
Yes, the lawyer.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, the suspects in the lawyer's murder trial has disowned DNA evidence on a technicality, saying that his DNA that was submitted to the government chemist was not in. He was not for that issue. And he says that from the evidence from the co-accused said that there was no provision order to be written, and he may not do it in writing. This is just the DPP, or rather the prosecution, saying that they had every right to actually take this DNA in regard to this. Now, Peter Ngoge, who is a suspect, is suspected to have played a major role in the human rights lawyer Willie Kimani's murder, said he did not give consent to have his DNA taken by the government chemist. Remember, he also took the police he's a police informer. He took the police to the areas that this murder was committed. And in his confession, he had also narrated the plan that was to dispose the car in Meru. However, there was a change of plan, and the taxi man had been hired and operated from Zimmerman in Nairobi. This is an ongoing case, and this is what is happening at the courts in regard to the murder case of Lucy Njambi in 2018, as well as the human rights lawyer Willie Kimani. We'll be keeping tabs on what is happening in the courts, but right about now, in the next few minutes, we are going to take a short break. But when we return, we're going to be speaking to other matters, including looking at issues of entrepreneurship, where we're going to be talking about where to invest as a young person and how to circumvent the hurdle that is capital that has, held back many startups. Do not go away. We'll be right back.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
My reliable sources say your dad also had the same temper. Cost him a few fights, and that's why he sold you.
To decide where you belong, with us or chasing some story, you can't have both.
I know that I should have known about this, but they've always been together for years. How was I supposed to know what was going on?
I don't know. Just stop arguing.
I tried everything to stay with you, but it didn't work, so there's nothing more to say.
No, it's because of Fabiola. All our problems started because of her.
In love with Ramon. Next on.
Let us sing with Paris from we are the secret resistance. People, oh people, expectation. Will they love you? Who is he who sits up in the Mount Zion? King Haile Selassie first. The King of Kings is the conquering lion. King Haile Selassie.
Not started capturing?
They have. Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. Good morning, Kenya continues. Time for our fast conversation this Tuesday morning. We want to better understand more about inclusivity of PWDs in the oncoming recruitment. This is at NYS, and on set I'm joined by Dr. Beatrice Oyuri, who is the Acting Director, Social Transformation Training at NYS, as well as the Chair, Disability Mainstreaming Committee, still at NYS. Dr. good morning.
Morning.
I hope I pronounced the second name correctly.
Oh yes, Dr. Beatrice Oyuri.
Oyuri.
Yes.
All right. So, Dr. just before we go to the whole aspect of PWDs feeling included at NYS, maybe you can just make us understand, what you do, your roles as acting DG, as acting director, as well as the chairperson. So, what does that entail? What exactly do you do at NYS?
Yes. I'm Dr. Beatrice Oyuri. I'm in charge of social transformation training and also the chair of Disability Mainstreaming Committee at the NYS. As the acting director of social transformation, I coordinate social transformation training, which includes living skills, citizenship, religious issues, etc. Change of attitude among the youth. As the chair of Disability Mainstreaming, I have been fighting for inclusivity. First of all, what we do is to fight for integration of all persons with disabilities in the service, activities, programs, and services.
Okay.
As far as disability mainstreaming is concerned, so far we are doing very, very well. In most cases, people wonder, how does NYS cope with persons with disabilities?
Okay, and I will be coming to that in a bit.
Yes.
But you've just extensively explained what exactly you do and your roles are, and you said something which I think is going to be very important, given the fact that NYS deals with youths a lot, and this is the aspect of changing attitudes.
Yes.
Sometimes it tends to be very difficult. How has that been going like?
It has been very smooth because we are there. Yeah. We have the social transformation training, which cuts across from the youth to the staff. Changing people's attitude is very, very important. Most of the youth that have joined the NYS, when they come out, they are changed people. We change them from subjects to citizens. And that one we are doing very well. Thank you.
I like that we change them from subjects to citizens.
Yes.
So it means that actually being at NYS, it works.
It is the best place for a youth to
It
be.
is the best place for a youth.
Yes.
Why so? Aside just from the fact of changing attitudes, what makes it so best place to be? Because even when we were having this conversation before you came on air, and I had told you there was a time I actually did a story about the pass-out parade, a live link, and some youths are like, and others are like, me, I really enjoyed my time, I enjoyed my stays. So aside from the attitude bit of it, what makes it best? What makes it a good place to be for a young person?
When we recruit the youth, during that process of recruiting them, we talk to them and we inform them what is expected of them, what they are going to undergo under the purpose of joining NYS, and apart from training, what they will gain from the service. Because we must sensitize them the importance of joining the service. That is how you can change the attitude. After the training, so what? NYS will work in collaboration with other stakeholders and place this youth in the job market. That is how we change the attitude of the youth. And it is consistent. We don't stop. It is consistent, is on daily basis. The training goes on. Our NYS officers, they train the youth on daily basis, taking them through the social transformation programs.
All right.
Yes.
Clearly, that's why you're the acting director of social transformation.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right, now let's come to the main core, which is, the PWDs, and for them feeling included in the NYS program. Let's just start by first understanding what necessitated that in the first place.
NYS, as a paramilitary organization, initially used not to recruit youth with the BWDs, who are BWDs.
So meaning this more like a recent, activity?
Yes, it started in 2015.
All right.
And by then, the minister was Madam Waiguru. She looked at the mandate of the service and she felt it was very important, given that the main mandate of the service was training. Why would we leave these people out? And that is how it started, and the PWDs joined the service. As we are talking today, we have 191 youth who have been enlisted with the service as PWDs. Currently, we have 89 youth and 21 staff who are persons with disabilities. Yes.
So aside from that inclusivity bit, because oftentimes when you talk about PWDs in whatever capacity, it's always we want them to feel included, we want them to feel part of the society. So aside from that, in regards to them being part of this program, what else do such people stand to gain? Because at least for the other part, you've understood that this is what they are gaining, this is what they're benefiting from just being on the program. For PWDs, what do they stand to gain aside from just being included?
For PWDs in general, in the service, we do the habilitation and the rehabilitation. The habilitation, basically, we deal with training of the youth, taking them through different programs based on their qualification. After they join the service, they are taken through the paramilitary training. After that, they go out and serve the community. After they're serving the community for 6 months, they now join technical and vocational training. The duration in the technical and vocational training is determined by the qualification of each student. Those students who pass well, they take diplomas. That is C's, those who get C's. And then those ones below C, they do the craft courses. And then those ones who get D, they do the artisan courses.
Now, Doctor, we just want to check your mic a bit before we continue the conversation. We are speaking with Dr. Beatrice Oyiri, who is the Acting Director, Social Transformation Training. This is at the National Youth Service Program. She's also the chair disability mainstreaming committee still at the NYS, and she's talking to us about matters inclusivity, especially of PWDs in this program, just telling us that at least it began in 2015. This in regards to making PWDs be included in this program, and also just better making us understand the kind of benefits that these persons, stand a chance to benefit and gain from, aside from the bit of just being included, and also just the whole aspect of NYS, how important it is, especially for us as young adults, to be in such programs, and the whole idea of also what we stand a chance to gain and benefit just by being in such kind of programs. Now, Dr. before we just, at least took a bit of a breather there, trying to check your mic. We were talking about the kind of benefits that this person stand to benefit, aside from the inclusivity bit, because you are saying that oftentimes when you talk about PWDs in whatever capacity, it's always first off, we want to make them feel included, we want to make them feel part of the society. But when it comes to NYS, we know that of the other persons, there's so many things they're benefiting from, there's so many things that, they stand a chance to gain. But when it comes to PWDs, aside from just inclusivity, and you were telling us, what extra do they stand a chance to gain and benefit being in this program?
Yes. I have just said that we do the habilitation and the rehabilitation
of them,
of the PWDs.
Okay.
Their habilitation involves training of the youth, taking them through the technical and vocational training.
So when you say the training, is it like the same kind of training for the other kind of young adults, or for them is a bit different?
No.
It's still the same.
These are skills, imparting skills, preparing them for the job markets. Apart from that, there is the sensitization on disability mainstreaming. I'm telling you, Doreen, without people knowing what is expected of them, or as PWDs, it becomes impossible to handle these people. These people become very happy when you sensitize them on disability mainstreaming. There are those ones who don't know that they are supposed to register with the National Council of Persons with Disabilities. Sensitizing them is one of the benefits. And then directing them, the approach to being registered as a person with a disability. And when it comes to rehabilitation, provision of the devices that will, assistive devices that will help them to move around. Apart from that, making the environment more conducive, accessible to everyone, meaning PWDs can access that environment with ease, and therefore they can access all the programs and services of the service.
All right.
Yes.
And Dr. I'd like you to better break it down for us, at least for us to understand. When you say we are making the environment conducive for them, that is always a big challenge when it comes to persons with disabilities, because when even when you go to organizations, it's either they don't have the ramps for them, we have the staircases, because most of them, the way in which they were made, it was not like for PWDs.
Yes.
So when you say making the environment conducive for them, especially in the program, what exactly are you talking about, and how are you making it easy for them?
Yes. Now, making the environment and the infrastructure conducive, it involves, first of all, carrying out accessibility audit to determine the gaps that are there. Thereafter, you go back and look at the gaps and start filling them so that they can easily access. What are some of the gaps? In accessibility to infrastructure, because there are no ramps, storied buildings. So that is the main thing we do. And also preparing the front offices, training them how to handle PWDs. You must train the front office. Apart from that, we have to train other officers. Today, as we are talking, DG at 11 is going to open the training for the top management on disability mainstreaming. And that is the approach that we use at the NYS. Yes.
So it means that aside from just providing conducive environment for these persons, you go an extra mile to also talk to the staff, train the staff on how to deal with them.
Yes, yes.
How has that been coming along in terms of training the staff? Because these are people that probably didn't have that capacity. They were used to like you and I probably.
Yes. We are using the National Council of Persons with Disabilities to train our officers so that they are aware of disability mainstreaming and disability etiquette. That was the main challenge, especially when we first recruited the youth in 2015. It was a challenge because by then we hadn't trained our officers. Today, the National Council of Persons with Disabilities is training our officers. They have sponsored them for sign language interpreters, and that one now will enhance the recruitment of persons of persons with impaired hearing, the deaf.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, you also mentioned that, at least it's been running for 5 years, since 2015 when it began. So exactly, 5 years down the line, what would you say are some of the gains that you have made at the program when it comes to these persons?
Some of the gains we have achieved, we've been able to habilitate some of the BWDs, providing them with the wheelchairs. Okay. We have been able to get a certificate of compliance. NYS got the certificate of compliance last financial year because we have been doing the right thing as far as disability mainstreaming is concerned.
All right.
We have gone further and also identified persons with disabilities in the service that have been hiding. As you are aware, in the past, people didn't like disability, and they used to think it was a curse. And therefore, you find that there are some who have been hiding their disabilities. You find a driver...
And probably they have a lot of potential.
Oh, yes. Okay. You find a driver who is epileptic and hides that disability. You can imagine what happens if now this person goes into fits. So we have unearthed all those who have been hiding their disabilities, and also those who have been hiding, the staff who have been hiding their children with disabilities, and encourage them to come out. Because when they come out, we encourage them to register with the National Council of Persons with Disabilities, who even go further and sponsor these children for several courses. So there are several gains that we have achieved. We have enlisted 191 youth. Yeah. You can imagine all those youths who are just in the village. Today they are somewhere working. Yes.
And today, even for them that are still coming, you can say that after the entire training, after the entire program, that they stand a chance to at least get to the job market and be resourceful. Yes,
very well, because we are working with stakeholders for their placement. Okay. And I feel personally, NYS is the best place for the youth with disabilities.
NYS is the best place?
Yeah, for the youth with disabilities, because we take them through the social transformation training, which changes their attitude in relation to their disability, because disability is something that nobody likes, but it comes.
And no one chose sometimes.
No one chose. And when it comes, it is irritating, especially those who graduate into disability. Our staff graduate into disability through diseases, through sickness, through falls, and through social transformation. We prepare them to accept and move on. So basically what I can say, NYS is doing very well.
It's doing very well.
It's doing very well.
Okay, let's talk about the challenges a bit, because we can talk about the gains and it's all good, but sometimes it's a bit of a downside and sometimes it's a bit difficult, even working just for the entire program, just as you mentioned when we began, for young adults, and even as we extend it further to PWDs.
Yes.
So what are some of the challenges that come with it?
Of course, challenges are there. Yeah. And we must look for a way of coping with challenges.
Exactly, because in every capacity it's actually there anyway.
Challenges are there. But the main challenge, I can say, are resources, because resources are always limited. Taking you back, I talked about inaccessibility to infrastructure. Okay. In the past, and in most buildings in this country, the buildings were constructed without putting in consideration of the PWDs. And because of that, we have to modify these buildings. In the process of modifying the buildings, it becomes very, very expensive.
Very expensive. Now, just allow me to cut you short, Dr. We want to take a very short breather. We'll be back with Dr. Beatrice to continue to explain to us and make us understand some of the things they are doing, especially to include PWDs in the NYS program. But for now, we take that breather. We'll be back in a short while. Stay with us.
tonight on KBC Channel 1.
My reliable sources say your dad also had the same temper. Cost him a few fights, and that's why he sold you.
To decide where you belong, with us or chasing some story. You can't have both.
I know that I should have known about this, but they've always been together for years. How was I supposed to know what was going on?
For goodness sakes, no. Just stop arguing.
I tried everything to stay with you, but it didn't work, so there's nothing more to say.
No, it's because of Fabiola. All our problems started because of her.
El paraíso
In love with Ramon. Next on.
Let us sing with Paris one day. Let us sing together now. If only I could still resisting. People, oh people, expectation. Will they love you? Who is he who sits up in the Mount Zion? King Haile Selassie first. The King of Kings, he is the conquering lion.
Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. We continue with the conversation. We are talking about inclusivity of PWDs in the coming recruitment, and this is at the NYS program, and we are speaking with Dr. Beatrice Oyuri. Dr. Before we went on break, we were talking about the challenges therein. Because yes, we talked about the gains and how important it is, how beneficial it is, not just for PWDs, but for the entire youths, for young people being in this kind of programs. But when it comes to challenges therein, make us understand what exactly goes on and probably what can we do to at least curb and solve this kind of issues.
Now, challenges are there, Doreen.
Yeah.
And you must look for a solution. Have a strategy. NYS has a strategy. that deals with the PWDs. Look at the job market. Work in collaboration. NYS is working in collaboration with other stakeholders for placement of these youth that we train. After the training, we must work in collaboration with other stakeholders. For example, the National Council of Persons with Disabilities, plus other private companies, so that immediately they are done with their training in technical and vocational training, we place them. We work in collaboration with those. Unfortunately, because of the embargo, NYS targets the youth they train for employment. All of them, including the PWDs. That is a motivation for the youth in this country.
At least someone knows I can get a job.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a motivation for the youth in this country. Looking at the NYS recruitment, it cuts across all the counties without leaving out any. Okay. That is a motivation for the youth in this country. Looking at the number of the youth that NYS has been recruiting, it is very motivating, because this youth would be nowhere without the service, without the NYS. You can imagine in the past we have been recruiting 10,000 and above. Imagine where would this youth be? And we recruit them to train them and place them. Many companies have been coming, sourcing for the NYS alumni. They are nowhere. They are already placed.
Wow.
NYS is the best place for the youth.
Now I think it actually makes sense how you say NYS is the best
Sure.
place. Because
Very
if companies,
true. Very true.
Because if companies can come looking, they just specifically want the persons who've been there.
Specific skills.
Yeah, and you tell them
you
that
look
they
for
already have
them. Are you
jobs.
engaged? Yes, I'm engaged. Then you start wondering, how is this organization is the best place for the youth?
Okay, you were also saying about the issue of inadequate resources.
Yes.
How does that come about, and probably what proposal would you put in place, at least to curb this issue of inadequate resources, because it never misses in whatever area.
Resources are always limited, and I have just mentioned the big numbers we have been recruiting.
Yeah, about 10,000 and over.
Oh yes. Yeah. Resources are always limited, Doreen, and you must look for a way to cope. The way to cope, especially for accommodating the PWDs, is doing things in piecemeals. NYS has 22 stations, and for us to provide ramps in these units, we have to do the piecemeal work. During the financial year 2019-2020, we carried out an accessibility audit in Nairobi area units, and we are supposed to make the infrastructure and the environment accessible for all persons with disabilities. And as per now, we are targeting now putting ramps, provision of disability-friendly toilets to those Nairobi area units. At the same time, we are going out during this financial year to do the audit in the remaining NYS units in preparation to fill those gaps. So when it comes to resources not being adequate, you do in piecemeals, and you will win always.
And you always find a way, because you can't keep complaining. We don't have money, we don't have this.
Yeah, you should never complain.
Never complain. Just
use
find
what you have adequately.
Use what you have.
Yeah,
regardless.
Efficiently and effectively.
All right, now let's talk about the entire mindset capability, because just again, we were talking about earlier on when you're starting, I was mentioning that I got a chance to do a story about this password parade, and I was mentioning to you that sometimes some youths would say, for me, I just can't wait to leave this place, like I'm just tired. For some, they were like, you know what, this was really enlightening, I enjoyed it, I loved it. And you see, sometimes there's this idea of mentality, that perspective of, kazi ni ngumu sana, I can't. So what do you think can be done to change that entire mentality of youths outside here, before they even get into NYS?
Yes, very well, very well. Doreen, when the youth are recruited, they are taken through the social transformation program. aimed at changing their attitude.
So that is the first process?
Yes. Okay. But what you might have witnessed during the pass-out parade, it is normal for a human being. You stay in one place for 6 months, you get bored. Some of them feel they should go home. When they are at home, they feel they should come back. So it is a break they need. That is all. Because we prepare them adequately, taking them through life skills, religious issues, and in the process, we change their attitude. Now, you have mentioned something to do with the community.
Yes.
How do we change the community? You remember sometimes back, we were dealing with the Youth Empowerment Program. During the Youth Empowerment Program, NYS used to train the community youth, taking them through the social transformation training. And in the process, we changed many lives, especially in Kibera, through social transformation training. And we wiped out crime cases during that time. So it's a matter of, can we engage NYS in the social transformation program so that they change the attitude of the youth outside there? It is possible. It is very possible.
So you're saying it's very possible to change that mindset, that you know that mind capability of it's just too much work.
Yeah.
But actually there's benefits
Yes.
against their real.
Yeah.
Now I want us to talk, just as we conclude, that ability of job market, because yes, you're saying that a lot of youths that come out from this program, they really gain a lot, they benefit a lot, they get these jobs. But again, when it comes to slightly a bit of to the PWDs, how many employers can accommodate them? Who may not have that compassion of wanting to take them.
Very well.
Yeah.
Very well.
What is being done in regards to that?
It is attitude change.
Also for people in the job space?
Okay.
Or employers?
Today, the National Council of Persons with Disabilities is doing a lot. Is doing a lot in this country with all organizations, making sure that disability mainstreaming is done. So, in the process of doing that, they are enlightening these people, these organizations, and therefore placing of PWDs after the training, it is not a problem. It's not a problem. We have a directorate in the service, the placement directorate under NYS. They go out to sensitize the stakeholders about the PWDs and other students they have that graduate, their alumni, so that they can accommodate them. It is not a problem for NYS.
It is not a problem for NYS. All right, thank you so much, Daktari, for your time. Really appreciate for you making us understand, what you're doing at the program. Asante sana.
Thank you, Doreen.
All right, so
I'm grateful.
Okay, that is Dr. Beatrice Oyuri just talking to us about matters of inclusivity when it comes to PWDs in the coming recruitment, and this is at NYS. So that is where we wrap it up, but we still have plenty more here on Good Morning Kenya. We take a very brief break, short break before we come back. Director, a break? Okay, so we take that break. We'll be back in a bit. Our next link when it comes to matters traffic, I wanted us to focus on Kisumu City, but let's just briefly take a look at what is happening here in Nairobi when it comes to traffic. A quick look at Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, which is what we're trying to look at earlier on. So this is how the roundabout is looking like when it comes to matters traffic. Still the same scenario, just traffic building up throughout the entire roundabout, and that has been well indicated by the color there. In fact, just leaving the roundabout as you head over to Kenyatta Avenue, just building up of traffic, and the sad part is that this is actually on both lanes. So what that means is that when you are leaving Valley Road through Kenyatta Avenue through the roundabout, that's just where there's building up of traffic. Again, also leaving the roundabout, going to the sides of Valley Road. On the other side, so as you, again, it's just leaving the roundabout, coming all the way through Uhuru Highway, also the kind of traffic there unbearable, especially just leaving the areas of Haile Selassie Avenue, Nyayo Stadium roundabout through the same Uhuru Highway before you get to the roundabout. In fact, on that specific lane, it's not moving at all, just at a standstill, just as you're leaving Haile Selassie Avenue, coming all through, not moving at all, just at a standstill. Again, slightly past there before you get to the city center, moving at a really slow pace. Leaving again the roundabout, still coming through the same area. This is still Uhuru Highway, at least on some parts, moving at a pretty fast pace. So again, if you're coming from CBD, going to the areas of Haile Selassie, going to Nyayo Stadium roundabout all the way to Mombasa Road, looks like a smooth sailing for you. However, if you're leaving those areas that I just mentioned, coming through Uhuru Highway before you get to the roundabout, then you may just have to make do with that traffic there, because then there is no alternative route along this entire highway. There's actually no alternative route. But as I mentioned also, if you are coming from city center, still you have to make do with the traffic there. This is actually if you are leaving the areas of Waiyaki Way through Uhuru Highway, coming to Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, going all the way to the CBD. The traffic therein, not that much unbearable, but yes, in as much as that is what is there, but it's building up. So again, you have to make do with that traffic. That is if at all you're going to the city center or the CBD. But if you're coming from CBD through, before you get to Kenyatta Avenue roundabout, before you go to those areas that I just mentioned, which is along Uhuru Highway, going all the way to Haile Selassie, at least on that specific lane, it's green all through, meaning there's no traffic, moving at a really fast pace. Coming again all the way from University Way roundabout, because this just, those highways in which connects to quite a number of roundabouts. So if you're coming from University Way roundabout, if you're heading over to Kenyatta Avenue or even Valley Road through the roundabout, then again, I can tell you for sure that you'll have to make do with this traffic, because around this area, it's really quite unbearable. So that's how our roads are looking like in terms of traffic. We have just been focusing on what has been happening around Kenyatta Avenue roundabout.
Here we are. Thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Kenya this far. Welcome to the program. My name is Samuel Njoroge. We indicated at the beginning that we shall be looking into a moment of constitutional reform with the country. As the BBI document was presented to the public yesterday, let's embark on the process. What can we expect now moving forward? And what shall we do to protect this document from the politics? And joining me to discuss that this morning is Honorable Dr. Aidan Kainan. He is the Member of Parliament, Eldas constituency. Actually, also, he is the longest serving Member of Parliament from Northern Kenya. Mheshimiwa, welcome to the program.
Morning, viewers.
Right. And maybe you can begin by letting us know what you think about the BBI and the process this far.
Thank you. BBI, first of all, is a process that started with a handshake. But having said that, Kenya is a democracy. It's a very dynamic country.
Yeah.
We have a very rich history.
Yeah.
And let me take you back for a minute, the history of this country, where many people actually may not know.
Yes.
In 1895, Kenya was governed by the British East African Company as a private entity. In 1920, we became a colony and ownership changed, and Kenya once again was transferred to the colonial office in London. And in 1961, we got our own internal self-rule, and in 1963, we got our independence, and since then, we have had successive governments, and the underlying issue was to come up with a document, a constitution, a man-made document that was going to unite the different communities of Kenya,
yes,
the different regions of Kenya, and a document that will capture the aspirations, the thinking, and both the socio-economic and political thinking of the people of Kenya. And that is what we have been struggling actually to do over time. If you look at again our Kenya, first of all, as a member of the civilized nations, again, immediately after our independence, there was a clamor for change, constitutional change. And you know what happened?
Exactly.
From 1969 until again 1982, so that attempted coup, and then 1991, and then finally 2010 constitution.
Yeah.
So this clamor for constitutional change has always been there. But I think what we need to demystify is constitutional change is a very dynamic, progressive process. It's not a one-day event.
Yeah.
That is why even America right now, they're debating. It's one of the oldest democracies. They're debating about what to do with their Supreme Court. They're debating about what to do with the Electoral College. They're debating about what to do with their governance system. Because this is something that you adjust in line with the realities of the day.
It's an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing process. And the realities change. That's why Kenya is not an exception. And that's why this particular process, the handshake was the culmination.
Yeah.
The two erstwhile protagonists actually came together in the name of the handshake, and in their own wisdom, the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga came together and realized Kenya was more important than any particular individual or individuals or groups.
Yeah.
So in their own terms, they contextualized something that was called the handshake, and it's the handshake that gave way to the building.
To the BBI.
Yes. But the BBI is not purely a product of the handshake alone. It's a product of the many years of aspiration of the people of Kenya. And even for those who are around in August 2010 when we promulgated the current constitution, the message was, this is not a 100% document. This was a document that had so many deficiencies, so many lacunas, and therefore there will be provision to improve on it in the years to come.
As time goes. I think the approval rate was 67%.
67%.
All right.
And even there are particular sections that were identified at that particular time that were not actually resonating well with the thinking of the people of Kenya.
We were calling them contentious.
Contentious issue. But the thinking at that particular time by the framers and even the leadership, when I was in parliament, was let's use the opportunity then to pass what was good, and we'll get another time to improve on the document. And that's exactly what happened, and that is what actually the current BBI
documents
report,
now we have
attempts to address.
Mheshimiwa, maybe because the Kenyans who are now wondering what will happen after this, the much awaited full report is out here. Does it mean that we shall read it and recommend additions to it, subtraction? What will happen?
You know, luckily, again, if you look at the current constitutional structure, public participation is so fundamental in our governance structure. This document has been prepared by a technical team. The technical team, this is the second document. What I got yesterday and what His Excellency the President and the former Prime Minister actually told the public is that this opens a national conversation. That national conversation, and there are three aspects actually to the report, and this is one thing that actually we need to demystify.
Yes.
There are policy issues that will be dealt with exclusively by the government. Those policy issues do not require legislation. They can come in the form of sessional papers. They can come in the form of policy pronouncement. They can come in the form of changes in the way administrative. So this,
especially in various sectors,
in the various sectors,
like agriculture, manufacturing, health.
Yes, this will be done by the government, and it's something that even this morning they can go ahead and make the necessary provision.
Yes,
that is the first aspect that this document recommends, and those policy gaps must have been identified in maybe the education sector, in the agricultural sector, in the economic sector, in on the gender issues, so many other issues that really touch on the lives of Kenyans. That is what we expect, and there is a timeline, and this must be as a result of the informed interrogation by, you know, this committee went around.
Yes.
They went to every part of the Republic of Kenya, collected the views of the people of Kenya, and therefore they know the thinking of the ordinary Mwananchi actually on the ground.
How long is this dialogue likely to happen?
This is the bit I'm coming to. There is a time frame. Then the second bit on this particular report is the legislative changes. This legislative change, again, because we have parliament, it will go through its own timeline, Parliament will determine. Of course, I can't speculate because Parliament is a deliberative house, and therefore, ultimately, when something is placed before the house, there are structures, there are ways, there are rules, and there are traditions, and that is what actually it must conform to. The other bit is the constitutional amendment. The constitutional amendment actually has its own time frame. You know, the bills must be contextualized. We have a draft. It goes to, you know, the necessary, this is now public participation. It goes to, you know, we have to get the signatures, then later on it has to go to the county assemblies, come back to Parliament. After Parliament now it goes to IBC. There's a process.
There's a process, most definitely.
So what right now I think, as of today, we have a document. Nobody is saying this document is perfect. It has given an opportunity for national conversation.
All right.
There are areas that I think, in my opinion, must be clarified. The areas that must be clarified.
Set
the areas
record straight.
Because the framers had certain things in mind. They can't contextualize everything. And those areas now is what will inform the ultimate outcome of the document that we'll be presenting to the Kenyans in a plebiscite.
When Kibaki was coming into power back in 2002, 2003, he promised a constitution within the first 100 days in office. But that was not possible. He delivered the constitution 8 years down the line. How do we protect the BBI from that and everything that ensued courtesy of constitutional reform back then?
You know, we always say man proposes and God disposes. This is a God-fearing nation. And therefore, as human beings, what we are trying to do is this, I believe, in my opinion, this referendum must take place before the next general election.
Yes.
That is my opinion. Inshallah, that's what, as a Muslim, we always say, inshallah, you know, this is our proposal, this is our desire, and God has also his own plan.
Yes.
Having said that, we are all in agreement that there is need to interrogate this document as soon as possible so that Kenyans can get the ultimate constitutional gains that they have been yearning for over the last decades. So in my opinion, hoping that all goes well, this should be in place before the next general election.
And in any case, Kiraito Murungi, at some point, a Justice and Constitutional Affairs Minister with the Kibaki government said that Kenyans should be patient because even if the government, Kibaki's government, had promised a constitution in 100 days, they did not mean 100 consecutive days following each other.
And then the difference on this particular document is the S2, you know, the groups who have been on different sides over the years are now together. The majority of them are now together. And therefore, even the national conversation will be on issues, particular issues that have been identified. And ultimately, I think there will be the national desire to have these documents pass before the next general election.
As soon as possible.
Yes.
Well, we need to take a short break, but when we return, some of the things we shall be looking at happen include the state of the referendum bill, how far has it come, and also we'll be looking into your queries online, so keep them coming in. Hashtag Good Morning Kenya. My name is Samuel Njoroge. See you after this break.
Bank wakasema mwenye ako na loan tuende kwa bank. Mtu vile alikuwa amechukua loan yake kiwango yake akareduciwa. Sasa ingekuwa maisha ni ngumu kabisa.
Next on.
Kabisa. Wewe walipa chupa gani wewe?
Si wanaishi?
Gani?
Hiyo anaishi.
Wewe bwana sema alipa nyumba nyingine pale. Kile chumba mimi nampa free.
Mafala sana nyinyi.
Sasa nimekuwa marafiki na Equity Bank kabisa.
things about you.
Wait them on. Just shake up. Need to mush you and done to mush you. When your booty got show me now.
Baby, one time. Bossy baby, give me 2 times. Full 180. Crazy.
Let's go. Ha. I needed some with some bop in it.
Mamacita, where you at? I've been trying to reach you.
Katoto shepu awe, ayawe, ayawe.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Seems you need to take better care of your wife because she takes advantage of every opportunity to get close to Ramon.
Sophia,
I am not prepared to lose you, Ramon.
I don't want to have anything to do with you. This is over, Sophia. I've had enough. It's over. I'm done playing the fool over again.
Francisco, calm down. You're really starting to scare me.
Andrea and I love each other.
What's that?
Yes, we have been in love all our lives.
I'm not letting you leave.
Let go of me! I never want to see you again.
El paraíso
In love with Ramon. Next on.
Let us sing with Paris Sunday. Let us sing together now.
If only I just keep resisting. People, oh people, expectation. Will they love you?
Who is he who sits up in the Mount Zion? King Haile Selassie first. The King of Kings, he is the conquering lion. King Haile Selassie.
Welcome back to the show, and thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Kenya this far. My name is Samuel Njoroge, and we're at a point where we're just discussing the BBI. Now that the report is out there in public, we're still reading it. I am still reading it. But we're also looking into constitutional reform in this country, what goes into it, and what lessons have we learned from the past that can protect this document moving forward. What is your take home at the end of the day? And what will be the importance of public participation in the process moving forward? I'm still here with Eldas, a member of Parliament, Honorable Dr. Aidan Kainan, who is still with us right here on the show. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for being a part of the program this far. When we were taking a break, we were looking at the referendum bill, a piece of legislation that will be very critical moving forward in as far as the BBI process is concerned. And maybe, Mheshimiwa, you can brief us on the state of that particular piece of legislation this far.
Yeah, I think the referendum bill is under consideration by the relevant committee, and I'm sure very soon it will be enacted, because that is critical for this particular process. So I hope we should have it very soon.
Right, and we don't expect any hiccups.
You know, legislation is a very progressive process. Kenya is a very democratic country. So hoping that all goes well, Parliament should enact that particular piece of legislation actually the soonest possible, because that is the gateway. It's the beginning actually of this referendum debate.
Will it be possible, or is it likely that someone may move to court and say that any legislation moving forward that will be passed by Parliament, whether on BBI or anything else, is unconstitutional owing to the advisory that was given to the President by the CJ to dissolve Parliament?
That is a very emotive issue. It's a very subjective issue. It's in court. I do not want to prejudice or get involved in subjudice. But on the face of it, let me say this. That was a political statement. The courts, the CJ has done what he felt he should have done. That is his decision. He has the right. Equally, all other relevant government agencies have done what they think is the right response to that advice. And therefore, since the issue is now under serious consideration before the court of law, I think the best I can do is we leave it there and allow the courts to adjudicate on the matter independently, without fear, without favor. And I hope ultimately what they will come up with will something that will add value to the national interest.
And talking about national interest, has this document captured the interest of Northern Kenya? You being the longest-serving member of parliament from Northern Kenya, has it captured the interests of your people?
Let me say this. This is a very important document. Sometimes people of Northern Kenya actually have been saying they got their independence in August 2010 with the current constitution. The reason is this. The amount of resources that the government has devolved from August 2010 to date is more than the share the people of Northern Kenya actually have got from independence from 1963 to August 2010. To that extent, the current constitution actually, it's not perfect, has served the people of Northern Kenya or the pastoral communities or the other marginalized communities extremely well. We have devolution, which has worked. For the first time I can say, and this is what the governor of Madeira yesterday alluded to, before devolution, you will hardly see vehicles. You could hardly see vehicles in the streets of Madeira. Today he said there's traffic jam. Today there's tarmac in Wajir. I have never believed that in my lifetime I will see a kilometer of tarmac road in Northern Kenya. Today, courtesy of devolution, there is tarmac in Madeira, there is tarmac in Garissa, there is tarmac in Isiolo, there is tarmac in Wajir, there is tarmac in Marsabit, and this is courtesy of devolution. And therefore, for us, for the people of Kenya, the first thing that they will look at in this particular document does it fortify devolution or it negates devolution? This document fortifies devolution because it devolves more resources from 15% to 35%. This is one major gain. The other bit that really this document addresses is in order to address the issue of underemployment and unemployment, the issue of the Youth Commission is so critical because many youth, graduates and diploma holders from that particular region are unemployed. And I'll tell you today, 4 out of 10 of the people now who are working in Somalia from the whole world are Kenyans, highly educated Kenyans from this particular region. And therefore, once this issue of the Youth Commission actually is properly documented and properly implemented, I believe these two twin issues of underemployment and unemployment will be seriously addressed. The other issue is the issue of historical injustice. This is one of the issues that we will be seeking, and yesterday somebody has alluded to, we'll be seeking further clarification. We need reparations. We need compensation for some of the injustices committed against the people. Like the issue of Wagala is so emotive. We will want to see how the victims, the orphans, the widows will be compensated under this. And therefore, there's general sweeping statement in the document. But one thing that we'll be asking is the mechanisms, how they are going to be compensated because they are there, they have been crying for justice. It's not only Wagala, the Malka Mari in Madeira, the Bolakartazi in Garissa, and so many other injustices committed against different people actually of the Republic of Kenya. And therefore, that is one area that will be seeking further clarification. The other area that I consider really good for is the retention of the current constituency framework. The 290 constituencies have been retained. The 47 counties have been retained. The Senate has been expanded without delving into the numerical strength of particular counties. The same 2 senators that have been apportioned have been given to Lamu are the same 2 senators that have been given to Kiambu, which is one of the most populous actually counties. This itself is a gain, and we must accept this as the reality and the face of Kenya. The issue of gender parity again is being attempted actually to address. One other area that really again will be insisting on further clarification is the issue of equalization fund. It has been in the constitution from August 2010. We need it to be properly operationalized so that it meets the very objective, because this was meant actually to bring at par the disadvantaged parts of Kenya with other parts of Kenya, and it's yet to come. The other area that we need actually to look at in this particular report, which I believe is again, is equal opportunities for all Kenyans, regardless of their region, regardless of their religion, regardless of their tribe, regardless of their faith, regardless of their color. And I think this is one thing that this document has really emphasized. Again, the introduction of the Word Development Fund is a critical actually. Is a major developmental issue actually for the entire country. Meaning, therefore, the MCAs at the ward level will be expected. And this is so important because for us to develop, we must spur development from the lowest administrative unit to the highest. And I think this is a big gain. The retention of the constituency fund, the constituency development fund again, is a big plus. So all these resources being devolved, all these resources being devolved, I think is a big plus for not only the people of northern Kenya, but the entire country. The other issue which is of a major concern to the pastoralist community or the marginalized communities is the distribution of the 70 additional seats. We'll be making a proposal to say that out of the 70 new additional seats being proposed, let 40 go to purely on population, and the other 30 go on affirmative action. Open that all be access. Meaning, therefore, areas that are highly populated will get their share based on their population. Areas that have been disadvantaged will also get a share of the 70 additional seats. It's not very clear, it's not explicit on the report, but I think this is one area that will be seeking clarification. Once this is done, overally, then this will be a good document for every Kenyan, a good document for all the regions.
Let me pick on historical injustices. How would you propose this document to handle that particular issue as compared to how the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission once attempted to do?
No, I think we already have the reports. We have the Lungulang reports, we have the Truth and Justice Committee report, we have so many reports, we have the curricular reports. What we expect this report, actually, this particular framework to provide is the mechanism, the modus operandi in the implementation of this particular. The reports are there. We do not need to go back and again re-engineer and come up with new. The reports are there. They are in our archives. So what we need right now is for this particular framework, the BPI report, to provide a clear framework on how that is going to be implemented, the resources that will be allocated, and who is going to implement. I think this is one thing that is, otherwise the statement is there on historical injustice on the marginalized communities or the other communities. It must be addressed so that Kenyans get also value for the views that they give to this particular committee.
Okay, and of course there's a whole issue of resource allocation, devolution having benefited from 15% to 35%, the creation of the ward fund, something that MCAs have been looking for quite a long time. But how do we enhance accountability and transparency when it comes to the use of these resources?
I'll tell you a story. One time, in 1998, as a young member of parliament, we were invited actually to Parliament of Malaysia. And we were saying we were benchmarking on the formation of quasi-government agencies on the area of micro enterprises.
Yes.
And shockingly, when we went around and the clerk came and he gave us a document that they borrowed from Kenya in 1974. You can imagine, Malaysia used a document that they borrowed from Kenya in 1974 to reform their, micro business sector.
Yeah.
And we're in 1998.
And then you go now to
benchmark. What am I trying to say? We have everything. We have the best institutional framework. We have some of the best documents. We have the best brains. That's why Kenya, recently, the UN declared Kenya as the best in human resource capital. That is why today our diaspora community is one of the most revered communities actually in the world. What is missing is the desire to implement. We have reduced ourselves to a talking nation. We have reduced ourselves to a nation that politics every day. So the reports are there, the brains are there, the institutional framework is there. So on the issue of accountability, we have institutions. We have the Office of the Controller of Budget as an independent office. And in fact, the role of the Office of the Controller is being fortified in this particular document. We have the role of the Auditor General's Office, which is, again, completely an independent office. The role is being fortified. We have independent commissions like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and many other commissions. We have Parliament, the Senate, which deals with devolution. And it has its own institutional framework in the form of committees. We have the National Assembly. So we are not short of institutions. What is lacking is the will, the drive, the desire. And that this requires a total attitudinal change, actually, by the people. We need to change our perception. We need to change our attitude so that this country, this beautiful country, and this is one thing that I will always say, and I remember this with nostalgia, and whenever I see it, I feel so pained. Look at KMC, Kenya Meat Commission. In the 60s, Kenya Meat Commission was the best meat facility in Africa, providing exporting meat to the entire Europe. And in fact, it was being used as a training hub for the newly independent African countries like Botswana. 57 years down the line, Kenya Meat Commission is dead, it's moribund, it's closed, and the very officers that we trained for Botswana now is the leading meat exporter, processed meat exporter to the whole world. It is shocking. What is the cause? The cause is we are not ready. We have not psyched ourselves to work as Kenyans.
Is it like we're not ready or we're not willing?
Let me say we're not willing.
Yeah? In that regard then, Mheshimiwa, two issues. Constitution, constitutionalism. And pundits argue that no matter how progressive a constitution can get, the spirit of constitutionalism must be equally as progressive. How do we achieve the proper spirit to back a constitution?
I think that's a very important question. We can have the best constitution in the world, but do we believe in it? Do we practice it, both the letter and the spirit? And until we inculcate this in our blood, in our thinking, in our social activities, in our economic activities, in our political discourses, then the constitution will always just remain a piece of paper. So that is why right now, these documents that we have jealously and fiercely fought for must become part of our spirit, must become part of our day-to-day activities, so that we become a country of constitutionalism. We become a country of the rule of law. We become a country of good governance. We become an example. Ideally, Kenya is a premier nation. A premier nation in the context. First of all, if you look at this history, the history of the Republic of Kenya, we have missed some of the challenges by the grace of God that bedeviled some of our neighbors. Like, for example, we have never experienced a military takeover. Compare ourselves with all other neighbors. We should say, by the grace of God, that did not happen. Two, we didn't have serious political turmoil, serious political, socio-economic turmoil. We didn't have. We are lucky. Meaning, all along, that is why we have been bragging and saying that Kenya is a regional hub. That definition of being a regional hub, in the context of being an economic hub, an infrastructural hub, a diplomatic hub, a security hub, these tags are slowly waning. The reason is we have become a country of politics. Politics. That is why the poverty level is so high. That's why the unemployment level is so high. That's why underemployment, and I'll use the word underemployment, because this is one thing that demotivates actually our school-going children. So it's a high time that we recollect and emphasize, and I'm glad that our current foreign policy actually emphasizes on economic diplomacy. The key pillar right now of our diplomatic engagement is economic diplomacy. Because without economy, without developing our economy, all these other things now become subsidiary. Because it's the economy that drives. We must develop our economy. We must develop our infrastructure. We must improve on our agricultural sector. These are the issues that ultimately will inspire development and give hope and wealth creation to every Kenyan. And this is what Kenyans actually expect from this particular document.
And then, as a means of support to the BBI and the outcome therein, what would you say should feed into the quality of what is called enabling legislation? Because I remember after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, there was a feeling that some pieces of legislation were rushed and thus they did not become, or they did not rise or live to the occasion?
You know, luckily again, that is why the framers of the global governance structure, and I'll use the word global governance structure because there is a key common denominator, is good governance. And one of the critical component of that particular global good governance is separation of institutional roles. And that's why in Kenya, luckily, we have the three traditional arms of government and other emerging arms of government. The three traditional arms of government, of course, there's a debate on which one constitutes the first arm, whether it's the legislature, the executive, or the judiciary. And then there are other emerging arms of government, like yourself now, the fourth estate.
Yes.
The other non-state actors, the NGO community, and other people, because these are the groups that also inform. So if Parliament has rushed, then the next thing is, where do you seek justice? Where do you seek an avenue to correct the anomaly that has been maybe intentionally or unintentionally committed by Parliament?
Yes.
We have the courts. So the courts can educate, interpret the law that has been passed by Parliament, and if there's a particular section that is inconsistent with both the letter and the spirit of the Constitution, the courts are at liberty to declare that particular section either unconstitutional or unwarranted or obsolete or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
So me, I'm not worried. I'm not in any way saying that all the laws that we come through Parliament are 100%. That is why there's another tier, there's another level to check on what Parliament has passed. Because Parliament is not absolutely free actually to legislate. No, there's another institution called the courts or the judiciary to check and interpret the laws that were passed. So if there's anything that did not meet the test of time, I hope the judiciary will look into it or will get another opportunity actually to address. That is to address the same anomalies. That's why even in the current proposal, we have amendments to a number of existing legislations. And I believe some of the pitfalls have already been identified under the PPI report, and I hope this process will clean it up and will make it better for our governance structure.
Now, you've just mentioned something about the media and its role in constitutional reform. And I remember back in 2005, that role was sort of criticized as, you know, one of the areas that were unfortunate, because there are those who argue that it contributed to 2007-2008 post-election violence. We are at a time where even yesterday we had the Deputy President and the former Prime Minister still talk about the role of the media. What lessons should we learn from the past, and what should be the level of growth moving forward?
I'll look at it from two perspectives. Is the media necessary? Absolutely necessary. That's why I'm saying the media is one of the emerging arms of government. I may be wrong with my definition, but for me as an individual, I have cited myself that without an informed, responsible media, then it will be difficult actually even to govern. And therefore, to that extent, the media is so important, so vital in information dissemination, in critiquing public officials, and also in informing. Of course, the media is always sensational. They must sell. If you look at the headlines, in almost all the dailies, the first thing what they do is you must have a headline that captures, creates
interest and
intrigues, so that the readership, even before you buy, is like you're already tempted. That headline captures, and therefore you are forced to buy.
The paper must sell.
But that's the first thing.
Yes.
So inform the public. The paper must also, because they're also in business. If they'll not be selling, and that's why for me, I'm at home with it. As long as you don't cross the red line. The red line is anything that incites violence, anything that contributes to violence, anything that. That's why we have a responsible media comes with the element of a responsible nation. That's why we have regulatory institutions like the Media Council, and I believe every media house has their own internal self-regulating actually mechanism that determines their editorial policy. Because I believe you have your structures, and stories don't just come.
It's true.
Yeah.
But do you have any areas of note, even in your tenure as a member of Parliament, when it comes to the 2005 yes or no referendum, the 2010 banana chungwa referendum, when it comes to the 2010 yes/no referendum? Are there points of note for you, for the members of the state?
Yeah, again, I'll take you back to this. Who are the media owners? The media owners most of them are Kenyans or other investors. And therefore, as human beings, they have their likings. As human beings, they have their interest. As human beings, they have their passion. As human beings, they have also their own inclination. So that cannot be removed 100% from the editorial policy. Some will be inclined towards a particular cause. It happens. Like right now, I am keenly following the American elections, where even some of the leading media houses are declaring their support for particular candidates. That cannot be, taken away because they are right. So even in this case, we have had particular media houses that were inclined to support certain positions, either because of regional interest, either because of tribal interest, or ownership, or a combination of all this. And therefore, that might have contributed. That's why right now, the way I see that lesson of 2005 and 2007, I think has changed the way we report and I see right now the media avoiding certain so emotive issues that can easily incite Kenyans.
So what we shall do is that we shall go for a break, but we shall be back with Mheshimiwa touch on a few issues, especially when it comes to the North region, as well as take your view in as far as this conversation is concerned.
KBC, in collaboration with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, is broadcasting enhanced out-of-class learning on radio, television, and online. Catch the lessons every weekday on KBC Channel 1 from 2 to 4 p.m. on KBC English Service and 15 FM from 9:15 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Radio Taifa from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. KBC English Service, Radio Taifa, and 15 FM are also available countrywide on the free-to-air Signet digital TV platform, or log on to www.kbc.co.ke for live streaming, or download the KBC Online app on Google Play Store. Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, ensuring learning no matter what.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
My reliable sources say your dad also had the same temper. Cost him a few fights, and that's why he sold you.
To decide where you belong, with us or chasing some story, you can't have both.
I know that I should have known about this, but they've always been together for years. How was I supposed to know what was going on?
For goodness sake, stop! Just stop arguing!
I tried everything to stay with you, but it didn't work, so there's nothing more to say.
No, it's because of Fabiola. All our problems started because of her.
El paraíso
In love with Ramon.
Yote ndawai do iko tu sawa kwa macho yako. Unataka kuwako.
Ati nini? Why are you people shouting?
Are you okay?
Mwanamke ninakuona sana. Ni wanaume hapa Mombasa wameisha.
Ni nini mbaya?
Nowadays we have so many unfaithful people.
What?
Need to talk about her every time we are together.
I'd be very careful the way you address me.
Zako zinakuangaje? Huwezi kaa dakika mbili hata bila kuteta.
You will all sign new contracts.
And I am supposed to be briefed.
What? Taki ujinga.
Oof.
welcome back to the program, and thank you so much for being a part of the show. We are just getting to the home stretch session of this interview that I've been having with Elders Member of Parliament, Aidan Kainan. And just to appreciate some of you who are watching the show, thank you, Zablon, for your viewership. You say you're watching from Spring Valley. Stanley Wambogo, you're already watching the show. Asante Sana. But let me draw attention to this query that has been raised by D. Bongo, who's asking Mheshimiwa to tell us his view of a police force controlled by a CS. Don't you think it becomes more of a militia?
That's a very good question, and I think it's part of now the conversation, the national conversation. In my opinion, having known the history of our Kenyan police force and the way they have acted, I think the best recommendation that I will give is to delink the police from the office of the CS. Functionally, but administratively, there must be that linkage. And therefore, the police must be managed by an independent administrative unit. So that is one of the areas that are actually we should not go back to, because currently under the current constitution we have the Police Service Commission. If there are lacunas or pitfall, I think it should be addressed, and police must always be allowed to be independent.
All right. As a member of Parliament from Northern Kenya, I'm very sure you have interacted with this advisory from the National Drought and Management Authority that pastoralists in that region should sell their livestock because of an ongoing drought that is likely to get worse as time goes by. What's your take on that?
That is a very important advice, but there's a problem. Who do they sell to? Where will they take the animals?
Where's the market?
Where is the market? And this is one of the things that, if I remember, I feel very bad. During the colonial time, we used to have livestock marketing division in the Ministry of Livestock. We used to have Kenya Meat Commission holding grounds with boreholes and grazing zones. We used to have a vibrant and functioning KMC. Those things are now gone. So the pastoralist farmer today in Northern Kenya is left at the mercy of that wild environment. In fact, sometimes they sell the animals through Ethiopia, they sell the animals through Somalia, they sell the animals through Djibouti. And this is why recently I supported the takeover of the Kenya Meat Commission by the military, because that is the military element brings in the issue of efficiency, the issue of efficiency and effectiveness. And that's why some people were asking, why will I support a military takeover of civilian institutions? The civilian infrastructure has failed over the years. And I hope right now, the generals, wherever they are, hoping that they are watching what I'm trying to say, we will have KMC back to its feet so that the pastoralist farmers are attended to. The advice is good. There's serious drought. And I want to use this platform to appeal to His Excellency the President to declare drought in Northern Kenya actually as a national disaster. Because really, the serious drought, the short rains actually have failed completely. And then also appeal to the Minister for Devolution and Asal Areas, the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, to urgently put in place mechanisms to address the drought challenges in the entire pastoralist community right now, because it's real. And therefore, and I hope and pray that the government will act on this particular issue as soon as possible. The advice is good, but how do they do it?
How do we cure this recurring issue? Because it keeps coming over time, it comes back. How do we cure it?
One of the ways, first of all, I think is the issue we're talking about, development. Development, allowing drilling, because Northern Kenya is endowed with a lot of underground water. There was a report done by an Israeli geologist or hydrogeologist in the Lorian Swamp. And you know what they said? The Lorian Swamp is an area in Wajir. They say that area, or that cuts across Isiolo, Wajir, that area can provide water, can supply water actually to the entire East African community. But no attempt actually has been made to provide irrigation. And therefore what we require right now is diversification of the economic activities of the people of Kenya so they can engage in a bit of sedentary life and also engage in other agro activities that will support their livestock farming. But for now, I hope with the devolution, some of these challenges will also be addressed.
Okay. Your final word to Kenyans today in as far as the discussion we've had, and also talk to your residents of Elders and the larger northern Kenya.
First, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, as the President of Kenya, as the first President under the current constitutional framework, the August 2010, understands and knows where the pitfalls of the current constitution. It's my appeal to Kenyans to allow the President and the Jubilee government to implement the Big Four agenda, so that the President also, when he retires, he has a legacy that will meet the test of time. It's my appeal. So that 2 years remaining, I want to appeal so that we avoid some of the things that are happening right now that can easily, stop some of the gains that we have made. Secondly, this document attempts to address the issue of inclusivity.
Yeah.
And inclusivity has been so emotive, because somebody was comparing Kenya to Tanzania. Tanzania, over the years, because of assimilation, because of Ujamaism, and there's one thing that people actually really don't remember.
Yeah.
The way we have been governed by the colonial government was on divide and rule administrative structure, where they created class. The butchered bourgeoisie that were being referred to yesterday actually was this clear manifestation, because that's why we have had classes, different classes. The sons of the haves and the have-not, the chiefs, the elites. All these now is a face of the modern day Kenya. So that's why the issue of inclusivity. If we compare ourselves, Tanzanians were taught to think like Tanzanians through Ujamaa, through assimilation, and therefore you have one nation called the Tanzanian tribe. Here we have 43 tribes. 43 tribes with different cultures, with different aspirations, with different interests. And this is why the issue of inclusivity is so important under the current particular document. Now, for the people of Northern Kenya, there's a lot of fake news going around. I have interrogated this document, and I want to appeal to them, like there's a document here which talks about devolution on the issue of revenue allocation. This particular document is almost in all social media. I want to tell them this is fake, it's fake news. I have gone through this document, and this particular area is now on devolution. The chapter, the area under devolution, and this report is so important, it talks about the issue of revenue allocation, and the formula does not have this. So this is fake. I want, meaning therefore, that there are many people who are trying now to
politicize the process
and interfere with the report and create a picture of panic. And therefore, my appeal to the people of Northern Kenya is read the document, interrogate the document, internalize it, and ultimately, if there are areas that you really feel affects your socio-economic and political well-being, please don't hesitate in bringing the same to the attention of your representative, or even directly, because Kenya now is an informed society.
Yeah.
But otherwise, accepting to be fed with this shenanigans, with falsehood, that do not constitute part of this report in the name of this, ultimately will mislead. And therefore, I'm sure we'll have a period of verification, a period of discussion, which right now is the case. And I hope the people of Northern Kenya, as it has been in the preparation of the August 2010 Constitution, will adequately prepare themselves and participate in the national discourse so that they can contribute to the improvement of this particular document. But as of now, I've said the pitfalls, I've said the challenges. This document is largely a good document, and I want to appeal to them to support this and bring out if there are particular areas that are of concern. And finally, this is a man-made document.
Yes.
As a Muslim, we have the Quran, which is a spiritual guidance from Allah. Even there are people who question. There are people who don't follow. So this is a man-made document. It will be interrogated. There will be pitfalls. And therefore, if you expected human beings to come up with a document that satisfies everybody, I think that would be a fallacy. And therefore, please read the document, go through it, internalize it, chapter by chapter. You have well-endowed representatives in the National Assembly, in the Senate, in the county assemblies. Bring out your views, and ultimately, I can assure you, as an individual, and as one of the long-serving members of parliament, I will not be party to a process that will disadvantage, first, the people of Elders, second, people of Wajir County, Third, the people of Northern Kenya. Fourth, the people of the pastoralist communities. Fifth, the Muslim community. And lastly, the people of Kenya. And therefore, they can count on my support. And I will read this, and that's why even in 2010, I was among the proponents of the August 2010 Constitution, and they have seen the gains and the benefits as it's brought to us. So I want them to have the confidence. You are ably represented. We read, we understand, we interrogate, and therefore we will disseminate what we think is good for the people of Kenya. Thank you.
All right, Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for coming and sharing your insight on the BBI. Now moving forward and constitutional reform. Deliberately, we have avoided the politics. Deliberately, we have avoided getting into the document itself. That is because we will be getting to have you understand chapter by chapter what is in this document. Yes, very quickly, Mheshimiwa.
Now, what I wanted to say is, over the years, since the August 2010 Constitution, you also had your representatives who are neither part of the executive or part of the legislature. Under this document, for the first time, the role of the member of parliament, in particular the member of the National Assembly, is clearly defined, and meaning, therefore, that the government will now be in parliament. Your member of parliament will be part of the executive. Your member of parliament will be part of the legislature. And I think this will enhance accountability, transparency, and efficiency. And this is something that, again, Kenyans must be very proud of. Because this is what was missing actually in the current governance structure.
Elders, Member of Parliament, Honorable Dr. Aidan Kainan, thank you so much for coming. And thank you for watching the show. We will be right back in just a moment. Keep it. Good morning, Kenya.
Time for our next traffic link, and as I had mentioned earlier, this morning we'll be focusing in Kisumu City, and that's just where I want us to begin, specifically just at the heart of the city. But before I get to do that, let me just give you that image which I had promised. Now, this is actually how Kisumu City looks like. You can just see from these images the well-reconstructed roads. We have, obviously, again, the non-motorized transport system, which is inclusive of pedestrian walkways and cyclist lanes, just at the farthest end. So this is, again, the projects being done by the different bodies represented, or different bodies that are slated to ensure that our roads look better for both public and private-owned vehicles, both pedestrians as well as cyclists, which is the Kenyan Urban Roads Authorities as well as the Kenya National Highways. So this is just the heart of Kisumu City and how it is looking like. Projects, again, being done by these different bodies. And as I had mentioned to you earlier, so when you talk about expansion of roads, recarpeting of roads, bridges being installed, drainage systems being put in place, it's not just things that are being done here in Nairobi City or projects being done by the different bodies for the sake of Nairobi County, but it is also extended further to different parts of the country, different towns, different counties. You can remember yesterday we looked at Nakuru town, so this is, you can remember how it was like, and this is how Kisumu City is looking like. At least, it's better. So very briefly in terms of traffic, trying to see if at all this, the project has at all impacted traffic, positively, and what that means just in terms of reduction of traffic flow. Now, that image that I just showed you, this is actually the reflection of the map, and this is how this area it's looking like. This is at the heart of the city. As you leave Nairobi, coming all the way to Kisumu, look at how that roundabout is looking like. Of course, just like any other kind of roundabout, where we'd expect to see what we are seeing in terms of the gridlock there. So in as much as, yes, this traffic, not that bad, at least a manageable kind of traffic. And look at how that color is just well indicated, the orange color there throughout the entire roundabout as you branch off to Achieng Oneko Road. On the other side, branching again to Kisumu Busia Road. This is again one of those roads that also leads you to the western part of the country, because when you head over this road, going again all the way to Vihiga County, so clearly again one of those roads that branches off from this major roundabout, also heading over to Jomo Kenyatta Highway. So clearly just the typical of what you'd expect to see around major roundabouts. But I think the beauty with this is that unlike what we'd spot in Nairobi, town or Nairobi County in terms of heavy kind of gridlock, especially on major roundabouts, because this is just at the heart of the city. And oftentimes you'd see that kind of heavy traffic. In fact, just more of the maroon and the red color, indicating that it's really moving at a really slow pace or not even, or even not moving at all. But it looks a bit different on this specific one because, yes, in as much as there's traffic, but it is a manageable kind of traffic. And again, that is why we have that orange color there. So away from the roundabout, coming to this other road, which is the Otieno Oyo Street, as you head over to the estates, just leaving the city of Kisumu there. Also not that bad, moving at a pretty fast pace, just on specific areas as you come to the city again. Just like how we'd normally see in Nairobi, especially as you come to the CBD or the central, business district on that particular town. That is oftentimes where we would really spot either heavy kind of traffic or traffic beginning slightly build up because of obvious reasons. In any town, in any county, as you're heading over to the city of that specific town, and this early morning hour, it's obvious people are either heading to their workstations, heading to their businesses, different activities as you come to the heart of the city. So obviously, again, what you're spotting here in terms of the gridlock could again be because of those reasons in terms of that, that kind of traffic there. So yes, in as much as there's traffic, but at least it's a manageable kind of traffic. And also as you leave the roundabout, coming all the way to the estates thereabout, also moving at a really fast pace, which is again what you'd expect to see because there's barely any kind of activities as you leave the city, heading over to the estates. On the other side, again, just leaving the roundabout, heading all the way to Jomo Kenyatta Highway. And again, this specific area is also one of those busy areas because it's just one of those roundabouts, one of those areas which also caters for vehicles that leave Nairobi. It's also, again, one of those large bus terminals. So clearly what we are really seeing is, again, what you'd expect to see because of the kind of activities around this specific area. So also if you're coming from Nairobi, just slightly past, before you get to this area, looks like a smooth sailing for you. Look at how the roundabouts are just looking like, not so bad. The major highways, again, also not so bad. And this has also been well indicated by the green color. And the beauty is that this is actually on both lanes as you're heading over to Kisumu city and also just leaving the city, heading all the way to Nairobi through different roads. Actually, there's just different roads before you get to Nairobi, but sticking with the same roundabout doesn't really look that bad. Also next to that, again, the other roundabout, which is around the Patel Spare roundabout, which again also adjoins to that major roundabout, which is what we were looking at earlier on. Also, that doesn't really look that bad. And this is again also just as you branch off to the Ondiek Highway and also the other highway going all through. So it looks like, this project's being done by the different bodies really serving their purpose because ideally it was first of all to reduce on the traffic flow, given the fact that just like Nairobi, Kisumu is one of those busy cities in terms of activities I've mentioned for you earlier. So clearly one of the reasons as to why the roads are being recarpeted, just expanded. First of all, it was to reduce on the kind of traffic flow, and it looks like things are not changing at all. So in terms of traffic, whereby it just looks, that good and at least a manageable kind of traffic. So that's how it's looking like in Kisumu City in terms of traffic. At least today, our focus was just trying to see how Kisumu City was doing in terms of traffic.
Good morning. Glad you're still with us. You're still watching KBC Channel 1. Now we shift focus from matters politics and as well what is happening in Kisumu County as far as traffic is concerned. And we talk matters finances and investments. Joining me live from the United Arab Emirates, to be specific, Dubai, is none other than my guest this morning, who is a financial educator, a Kenyan at that. And that is none other than Sheila Mboga. Good morning. We hope that it is morning. This is Good Morning Kenya. Hi, Sheila. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about you?
I'm great myself. Glad to have you on board. Now we're speaking matters finances and entrepreneurship. Now, maybe you can start off by telling us what are the common mistakes that most people make when they're seeking out to start off in the matters of investment.
Thank you so much, Gladys, for your great question. One of the mistakes that most people make is investing in things that they do not know. So you find someone putting money in something that they just heard, maybe people on social media saying they got investments. For example, the quail business. We saw a lot of people investing money, yet they did not know much about it. Another mistake is that most people like to invest in things that will give them quick returns without having to do their own research and know the time period that a certain investment might take for them to be able to see returns. So you find that a lot of people in such an instance, they fall in the hands of pyramid schemes and conmans because they are looking into making money quickly without having to know the time period they need to invest their money. And another problem is most of the people who want to invest, they really do not want to actively participate in the investment tool or project. All they want is to be told you will earn, but they don't want to know how will I earn, what will my money be doing before I can earn. So those are the three major problems I can say that most people face when it comes to investing.
Now, Sheila, this is Regina here. My friends also refer to me as Ray. Glad to have you on board. Now that we've established that these are the common mistakes that most people make when they're looking to do some investments, then, in your role as a financial educator, then, how do we get over some of these issues like lack of research, the euphoria? How then does one identify a viable investment?
Thank you so much, Regina, for such a great question. As a financial educator, the first thing we do, especially at Financial Wellness Center, we first of all take our customers through an education program for an investment opportunity they would be interested in participating in. So once we educate you about that instrument, for example, if you want to invest in the stock market, we will not just let you go to invest immediately. We'll first take you to classes, let you understand what is a stock market, what are the terms that are used when it comes to investing in the stock market, what to expect, and how to go about it. Then after we've educated you, we then give you a test to determine how risk averse are you. Because when it comes to invest, people who are highly who are ready to invest in highly risky assets, while there are people who can only invest in low risk assets. So we'll do a test for you first so that you can know what kind of an investor you are. Then we can recommend to you what tools will be able to match your risk capability. Then after we've assessed your risk capability, we'll now go to the next level whereby we now allow you to know, we give you options on what can work based on your financial capacity. Remember, when it comes to investing, not all tools can be invested by everyone. There are tools that can only be invested by people for certain financial capacity, while others can be invested by a certain class of people. So we let you know, we educate you first, we do an assessment for you to know what kind of a risky investor you can be. Then from there, we can give you options on what to invest in based on your financial capacity.
Now, other than just identifying what type of an investor I would be, there's this hurdle that we call capital. In as much as you have a bankable idea, there's the issue of capital. In your opinion then, and this is something that really holds back a lot of people, especially women and youth, from getting into business or other startups, how then do we circumvent? What would be your advice on how to circumvent the hurdle of capital for startups? It seems we are having a bit of a technical difficulty in as far as our reception here back in Kenya, the studio we have here. But there is our guest this morning, that is Sheila Mboga, who is a Kenyan based at the United Arab Emirates, who is a financial educator and runs the Financial Wellness Center. Just joining us this morning in our segment where we got to speak matters business, matters finances, and entrepreneurship. Earlier on, as she was responding to the questions that we had posed to us, just some of the common mistakes that most potential investors make while getting ready to get into investments is that moving with the crowd, the euphoria, as well as not doing adequate research in regard to, what are you getting into, what does it require, how long will it take for you to break even, and also the third being you are looking for quick returns on your investments. What we need to know is that they are short-term, medium-term, and long-term investments. Once we reconnect with her, that is Sheila Mboga from the United Arab Emirates and Dubai. It seems that we have her back online to just continue with this conversation where we are talking matters of entrepreneurship. Sheila, great to have you back online. Now, before that particular hitch, we were talking about capital, and we wanted to hear from you. What advice as a financial educator then would you give to a startup or a potential startup in regard to the hurdle that is capital?
Thank you so much for your question, and sorry for that technical hitch. When it comes to capital, we have various ways you can get capital. One way is by approaching a capital venturist, especially for people who want to do startups. So if you're having a great idea that you believe is going to be viable in the business world, you can
it seems we're still not getting it right here. Maybe some network interruption there. But we are talking about entrepreneurship this morning, and our guest is live from the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, Sheila Mboga, who is a Kenyan but based there. Is just sharing her insight as a financial educator and also the head of Entrepreneurship Center down there in Dubai, as to how then we can go about making our investments. We were just highlighting the common mistakes that most people make, the issue of going with the crowd, that is what we term as euphoria, as well as not doing adequate research as to where you want to venture in, and also the quick hunger for quick returns. You know that we have long-term, medium-term, as well as long-term investments. You just need to know then which area you are getting into and how long it will take for you to break even. Once we get her online, she will also be sharing insight as to where the investment opportunities are, whether or not we are having this global pandemic, that is coronavirus. There are some potential sectors that are looking promising in as far as investment is concerned. And just looking back at Kenya, some of the areas that we've had over the last few months that have already shown potential is we are looking at matters of ICT, information of things, matters, just being the technological space has already created an avenue for disruptives in as far as tech is concerned, as well as matters of agribusiness. Remember, there's no time that a man has to eat to live. So that agribusiness is also proving to be something that we can all invest in. Sheila, it seems we have you back online. Just to take you back to that question that we had earlier asked you on the issue of capital. You had mentioned that a potential investor, if you're having a problem with capital, they should approach a capital venturist. Continue, please. Well, it seems we do not have her back online. Just to remind you that we are indeed live. You can send in your feedback in regards to what we have aired from 7 all the way to right now, including your views on the just, made public BBI report there, with a lot of conversation reigning on that. Wanjiko needs to grab a copy and read for themselves before making any decisions. Remember, it might go either way. Either it can be taken to Parliament precedent for pressing, or it might lead to a potential referendum. We'll be keeping tabs on that, as well as we will be keenly focusing what is happening in Nyeri after, the arrest of Rigathi Gachagua over matters of corruption. That's some of the developing stories that we're going to be following up for you as KBC Channel 1. Now we take you back to Dubai, the United Arab Emirates there. With our guest this morning, we're seemingly having a bit of a technical hitch, but we will circumvent that too. Now, Sheila Mboga is a financial educator. Over to you, Sheila. That response about matters of,
as I was saying,
matters of capital. How do we circumvent that hurdle for startups?
Yes, the other option is for them to approach the government. We do have government fundings for startups. And another option is to look for raising capital through friends and family. We do have friends that can support you with capital. Maybe you repay it back at an interest, or your family can give you some money just to help you start off. So capital should never be really a problem. The problem should be solving a market need in the marketplace first.
Now, where does the potential lie in as far as investment is concerned? You can look at the Kenyan market, or even while investing abroad. We understand that you are in Dubai. Investment opportunities there in which sectors?
Investment opportunities vary, bearing with the preferences of the investor. However, we do have various investment opportunities. Like right now, the stock market is a good place to consider, bearing in mind with the ongoing pandemic. We've seen quite a number of company shares going down, so it's a better time to consider investing in the stock market, as well as the real estate, because many people are of their property due to the effects of the pandemic. So if you have enough money or capital, you can then invest in real estate at a lower price, as most people are currently disposing of their assets. And we can consider investing in things like gold and other commodities, because we see most of the global markets are being affected by pandemic, going up and down. So things like gold and oil is something that one may see the advantage of in that season, as this is the best time where you can get value for your money.
What should one be looking for in an investment? You've already highlighted the mistakes that we commonly make, but then what would one be looking out for in as far as investments are concerned? Maybe you can tell us a short-term, medium-term, and long-term investment. What should one look for?
The number one thing you need to look for is the risk associated with the investment. Remember, we have investment tools that are highly risky, which refer them as volatile. And we also have investment tools that are lower in terms of risk, but we don't have an investment tool that is risk-free. Every investment has a risk associated to it, so you need to check which risk is associated to a certain investment tool. Then the second thing you need to check on the return on investment. The main reason why we invest is to be able to multiply our money. So you need to know what are you going to gain from that investment. And the third thing you need to really consider is the time factor. How long is the investment going to yield? And bearing in mind, it should be in line with your financial goals. So if you are planning to invest for short term, it's important for you to invest in tools that can offer you returns at a short time period, rather than investing in tools that will give you returns in long term. I'll give us an example. Maybe you are planning to invest some money so that you can be able to pay school fees for next year. It would be illogical for you to invest in a long-term tool, like let's say a real estate property that is yet to even be developed, that is going to maybe increase in price after 10 years. So if you invest your money in such a tool, will not be able to gain returns on time. So considering the time factor is very important. And finally, we need to check on the amount of money required for the investment tool that you are interested in. We've seen a lot of people who commit themselves in investment assets that require a lot of money. Then along the way, they drop out because they are not able to keep on funding the investment. So check on the financial capacity that is required and see if it's in line with what you are able to raise or have so that you can fully invest in a tool or an asset. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Now, would you advise a person, an individual or a group to invest or rather consider investing abroad?
Yes, I would. I would really encourage everyone to consider investing abroad. The reason is you are able to diversify your portfolio. So you see, when one market crashes, definitely there will be a market that is not crashing as compared to you investing in only one market in terms of geographical location. So I would encourage people, when you are investing, you need to diversify your portfolio. And one way of diversifying is by investing in other countries or abroad. So to me, it's a yes. I always say when it comes to investing, there is no free lunch. Only diversification is the only free lunch you can get when you are investing.
Now, we've had so much in as far as investment and Kenya's daring abroad. And, the United Arab Emirates and other areas within the Arab world have been painted in a bad light. Maybe you can just tell us how your experience has been as we come to a close and wind up this conversation, how your experience has been as a Kenyan working in the United Arab Emirates.
Thank you so much for highlighting that. I believe there is always two sides of the coin, and so far I can say for me it has been a great experience. I have had the chance to work in a multinational and a diversified culture. So you are able to learn from different people who come from different countries and continents and be able to have a bigger perspective of how things are done or how things are viewed from different cultures. So I would say when you are planning to, relocate or do anything, it's important for you to have in mind there is always two sides of the coin. And, before you make that decision, it's important for you to do your own research and be prepared.
Thank you very much, Sheila Mboga, the financial educator based in the United Arab Emirates. They are live on KBC Channel 1. Good morning, Kenya, from Dubai, sharing her experience in as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. Now, before I let you go, I'm sure you're catching up with the current news that is happening back here at home. So yesterday, the BBI report was made public. And some of the key highlights is some of the proposals is that youth startups are going to get, a tax haven or a tax amnesty of sorts for a period of 7 years going forward to just enable them, run this businesses as it is. From where you sit as a financial educator as well as a youthful person, what's your take in regard to that proposal?
For me, I think it's the best proposal, especially for entrepreneurs, because when you get a tax amnesty, that means that you, as a business person, you have been helped to cost cut in terms of paying taxes. A lot of businesses can agree with me that we pay a lot of money to ensure that you are paying our taxes. So for entrepreneurs, that is a very good move, and it's something we really need to be happy about, as it will help us in our cost-cutting measures, as well as it will cause a ripple effect, because when your taxes are reduced as an entrepreneur, you are able to reduce the prices of your products and services. So when you reduce the prices of your product and services, then the customer or the consumer is able to enjoy your product and services at an affordable price. So it is a win-win situation, and I really, really am grateful for such a move by our government.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Sheila Mboga, who is a financial educator based in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai. And she's a Kenyan, saying that indeed that's a good proposal contained in the BBI report. Remember, this particular report was made public yesterday, and President Uhuru Kenyatta, while addressing the nation during that particular forum, urged you and I to grab a copy, read and understand, so that when that time comes, we can make the right decision. Now, we'll be keenly following up on several stories, including just reactions from various, leaders as well as sectors in regard to that particular report. Our desk is keenly focusing on that, as well as we're still going to be focusing on the issue of COVID-19, and that Kenya is riding the second wave with dailies flogging. They're saying that COVID patients have already jammed hospitals, the state of preparedness, especially at the county level, as well as focusing on stories that are making headlines from the courtrooms, given that, in the wake of this morning or yesterday evening, is that we understand that Nyeri MP Gachagua there was arrested over massive corruption. We're going to be keeping tabs on that and so much more. Remember, this is the best way to start your morning, and we are live, and we welcome your feedback, each and every person who got in touch with us on Twitter, on our KBC Channel 1 News Twitter handle, as well as Ray Manyara, Sam W. Njoroge, and Doreen Arange. Thank you very much for your feedback. Let us meet same time tomorrow for comprehensive news as well as topical issues that are close to our hearts. Have a great day ahead. I'm Regina Manyara.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
To announce Ashok as my successor. Otherwise, she knows how Ashok can be given his rights.
Did Queen Dharma say so?
Made a mistake, Acharya.
You definitely have. And there is no doubt about it. I want to hear the truth, Ashok.
I don't have much time left. Please help me. By tomorrow morning, he will leave us forever.
Hadn't I told you that you shouldn't even come close to my son, Dharma? Go away.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Z.
Utamtafuta.
Ongoi sijui.
What are you going on about? You have your place in his life. You always will. You're his family. More like a trailer. Easily detached when not needed.
Decide what you want, Wanjala. Go for it.
What did you do?
I followed him home.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Kiachana mingi. Laki achane. Oni mtu wa legend.
What are domain names?
A domain name is simply a resource on the internet that is identified with a unique number. So kbc.co.ke is a domain name.
What are the safeguards? That once you have my information, it will be retained, verified, it will be used in a manner that I understand.
.co stands for a company, and .ke stands for the location of that company.
But in having all those data sets come together, that kind of data set becomes very important and very vulnerable from a data security standpoint.
Next on.
Let us sing with Paris one day.
From we are the still resisting. People, oh people, expectation. Will they love you?
Who is he who sits up in the Mount Zion? King Haile Selassie first. The King of Kings, he is the conquering lion. King Haile Selassie.
Mimi naitwa Queen Motamboki. Nafanya realism. Nilianza kuchora nikiwa high school. Hapo ndo nilijua naweza chora, sababu nilikuwa nikienda supermarket na najipata tu zile sehemu za kubai vitabu za kuchora, napata naenda shule na nachora cartoons, vitu kama hizo. But sasa perfect kabisa nilianza 2016. Nikienda campus nilikuwa nataka nifanye mambo ya mass communication, ndio nilikuwa nataka kufanya. Kuna ma-artist wenye ni wanawake wanafanya art na nimepatana na kadhaa. Siwezi sema ni ngumu vile, but ni poa, una feel poa sababu inafanya sana na majamaa. Sasa dem akifanya inakuwa okay kwangu, ni fun. Kama mwanamke, wanaume tu lazima watakuja. So as for me, nimepatana nao mafisi. Unaweza pata mtu anataka kuchorwa, but si eti anataka kuchorwa ile kuchorwa. Wanataka tu maybe wanaweza kuwa wanataka okay, unampatia bei zako vile anafaa kufanya ndio uanze kazi. Unapata hadi umempatia namba yenye anafaa kutuma maybe deposit, and hiyo namba sasa atashinda akipiga, but hata kuwa anaangalia biashara. Unaweza pata client amini kama we kama msichana unaweza fanya art, kama unaweza chora, kwanza waamini kabisa. Hata ukiwatumia samples zenye umefanya, they're like, hey, ni wewe umefanya hii kweli? Na feel poa juu waamini kama hiyo ni kazi yangu. Kuna picha nilichora Akodhe, yeah, ilinibamba. That was 2016. Hiyo ni portrait nilifanya na ilinibamba sana. Okay, when I change kutoka 2016, art yangu si the same mpaka sai. Za sai ziko way better kuliko za hapo kitambo. Environment ya hapa studio, it's not the same ukiwa nyumbani. Sababu hapa una get inspired, sababu kuna picha huku kwa walls, you get inspired. Kuliko ukiwa kwa nyumba ama tu place yenye au hakuna motivation. Lenye siwezi fanya bila, yani yenye unaweza ukichukua sasa ni kama umenimaliza, ni charcoal pencil na graphite pencil. Huwa naanzia kufanya A4 mpaka A0. So kwa A4 nafanyaga na 3500. Hiyo ingine next A3 nafanya na 4500. A2 nafanya na 6500. Inaendelea. Lakini tunaweza ongea. My page iko Facebook, inaitwa Queen Arts, na pia on Facebook inaitwa Winnie Queen Arts. Yeah. Na pia nikichora mtu pia naweza niletea client mwingine. Yeah, inaenda hivyo. Hiyo network ya. Kama uko na talent na wewe ni msichana, usikalie hiyo talent useme eti ni ya wanaume peke yao. Ukae tu nyumbani. Jitume ufanye hiyo kitu yenye unasikia iko ndani yako. Kama ni art uchore.